Radio 1. I'm Emily Brass, sitting in today as your host. In with me are Corey Funk, our show director, Abby Adiemi, our studio technician. Kevin Nepotabo is producing our CBC Manitoba YouTube channel, and Heather Wells is in the newsroom with the CBC Manitoba headlines.
Well, it's election day in Elmwood, Transcona. The federal by-election will determine who succeeds Daniel Blakey. The NDP's won this riding in every election except a lone Conservative victory in 2011. Polls open at 8:30 this morning. They stay open until 8:30 tonight. About 500 runners at Assiniboine Park for this weekend's Terry Fox Run. That event, held across the country, raises millions of dollars for cancer research every year. The total raised by this year's Winnipeg Run is about $60,000. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 6:30.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
That's CBC's Heather Wells. Coming up on the show, we'll take a look at a new metric that could replace body mass index in the doctor's office. We'll hear about a celebration highlighting the importance of looking at treaties that took place. That celebration took place over the weekend. We'll hear about its impact on those who attended. That's coming up in the first hour of the show. Also, good news over the weekend for air travelers. Air Canada and its pilots reached a tentative contract deal. We'll ask a business professor to walk us through what happened. But first, what's it like to be featured in an Apple ad? We'll hear from a Winnipegger who was chosen to take part. That'll be first on the show. Turning now to the forecast in Winnipeg today, increasing cloudiness, chance of showers or thunderstorms this afternoon, breezy with a high of 26. Showers with thunderstorms ending before morning. Tonight we will have a wet one. Fog patches developing, breezy with a low of 15. Tomorrow clearing in the morning, fog patches breaking up in the morning, breezy again with a high of 26. Brandon, similar increasing cloudiness today, chance of showers or thunderstorms this afternoon with a high of 26. Humid, could be 32. It'll feel like that with the humidex. Cloudy tonight, chance of showers, fog patches developing, breezy with a low of 14. And for tomorrow, cloudy, a mix of sun and cloud in the afternoon, fog patches breaking up in the morning, and breezy in the morning with a high of 25. World Report is coming up next.
Today on Q with Tom Power.
Kate Hudson stars in the new movie Shell about a predatory health clinic with a controversial experimental treatment that gives you eternal youth. Kate will talk a little bit about the pressure to stay young in Hollywood and her career-defining role in the film Almost Famous.
We inspire the music. We're here because of the music.
That's coming up on Q, followed by Commotion with Elamine Abdel Mahmoud on CBC Radio 1, the CBC Listen app, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Martina Fitzgerald. More details are emerging about the man accused of an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. A 58-year-old was taken into custody by the Secret Service after an incident yesterday at Trump's golf course in Palm Beach, Florida. Officials say a Secret Service agent opened fire on a man they found hiding in the bushes holding a rifle. The CBC's Caroline Bargout joins us now from Washington. Caroline, what do we know about the suspect?
Well, the suspect has been identified as Ryan Wesley Rouse. He's a 58-year-old American man that was living in Hawaii. Now, U.S. media are reporting that Rouse has a lengthy police record in North Carolina and had been arrested 8 times. He's also very active on social media, especially about the war in Ukraine. In fact, last year, he told the New York Times that he had traveled to Ukraine and wanted to recruit Afghan soldiers to fight there. He also said that he was willing to fight and die there himself. Chris Sowecker is a former head of the FBI.
He is an individual who's been living out loud on the social media platforms that we all use. He has called out for people to send him their passport copies, their military experience, their resumes, and what other battles they have fought in.
Now, investigators are working to figure out what a possible motive could be and why he allegedly wanted to kill former President Donald Trump, and if he was working alone, which at this point it appears that he was.
Caroline, how might this incident affect Trump's campaign going forward?
Well, the question is, will security be increased going forward? Because there's, of course, a number of questions about how this could have happened. Why the perimeter of this golf course wasn't completely secure, especially since there'd already been one attempted assassination of the former president in Butler, Pennsylvania 2 months ago. Another question that investigators are asking is, how did Routh know that Trump was going to be at the golf course at that time? Because, of course, he's not a sitting president, so his schedule isn't made public. Now, investigators have to figure out how Routh knew that he would be there and that he would be golfing at the time that he was.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thanks.
That is the CBC's Caroline Bargut in Washington. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his Liberal government face voter scrutiny today in 2 by-elections. One is in Winnipeg, where pollsters suggest the Liberals are not even in contention. The riding has been held by the NDP, who are in a tight race with the Conservatives. But the Montreal by-election is being watched closely. It's been a Liberal stronghold for years. Pundits say a loss for the Liberals could be a bad omen for the party and its leader. Sarah Levitt has more on the fierce competition.
We've been in power for 8 or 9 years. There is increased scrutiny.
With a by-election underway today, Liberal Minister and Montreal MP Mark Miller recognizes the riding of LaSalle, Aymar, Verdun isn't obviously going red this time.
By-elections are particular animals. They are not necessarily the occasion for voters to show up and endorse the government, more so to send a message.
The area has long been Liberal, but pollsters suggest this time there's a real race going on. NDP candidate Craig Sauvé has name recognition as a longtime city councillor, and the Bloc Québécois Louis-Philippe Sauvé hopes he can ride on the popularity of his leader, Yves-François Blanchet.
This is our star candidate.
Liberal candidate Laura Palestini has had support going door-to-door alongside cabinet ministers like François-Philippe Champagne. David Coletto is the founder of polling firm Abacus Data.
A once safe Liberal seat downtown, riding in a city that Liberals usually win, could fall. I'm not sure I know exactly how it's going to play out, but it's certainly going to be close.
Results, though, may take some time to count. There are 91 names on the ballot, making it almost a meter long. The bulk of the candidates there as a protest against Canada's first-past-the-post electoral system. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
Meanwhile, on Parliament Hill, MPs are getting back to work. So is the Commission on Foreign Interference. Phase 2 of that inquiry will look at what Canada needs to do in the future to prevent foreign election meddling. For more, let's go to Janice McGregor in our Parliamentary Bureau. Janice, the inquiry didn't take much of a summer break. What has the Commission been up to?
Martina, the Commission traveled across Canada this summer. It held 22 meetings in undisclosed locations so it could hear directly from communities about what kinds of measures might better protect them. Not only members of the Chinese, Indian, Russian diaspora, but also Tamils, Eritreans, Tibetans, Falun Gong practitioners, 105 people in all, speaking in their own languages when they needed to, and their submissions are going to remain anonymous so they can't be targeted for what they said. There's also been progress on a fight that's still ongoing over the inquiry's access to documents that the government considers cabinet confidences. On August 30th, the terms of reference were modified, so additional documents from Canada's spy agency that were used to brief cabinet could be handed over. It's possible that public's never going to know what's in these, but at least the commissioner now has seen them. Justice Ugg Friday, though, also revealed something she won't be doing, naming the names of current or former parliamentarians accused in that bombshell report last spring of wittingly or unwittingly participating in foreign meddling. The commissioner has now seen all the intelligence that drove that report, but she says the Inquiries Act will not let her name individuals without giving them a right to be heard.
Janice, if Commissioner Ugg is unable to name names, that punts the issue back to Parliament, right?
Yes, and remember how right before the House rose for the summer, NDP MP Jenny Kwan argued that following this report from a committee of her fellow parliamentarians that basically suggested there could be effectively traitors in their midst, the suspicions hanging over diaspora politicians in particular were violating her rights and privileges as an MP. Speaker Greg Fergus is expected to hear arguments from each party later today about how parliamentarians might have to deal with this themselves.
Thank you, Janice.
You're welcome.
That is the CBC's Janice McGregor reporting from Ottawa. Turbulent water surges in a river in Vienna. Central and Eastern Europe are being deluged by heavy rain from Storm Boris. Some areas have seen 3 months of rain in just 3 days. Flooding has destroyed homes, collapsed bridges, and forced businesses to close. The floodwaters are being blamed for at least a dozen deaths. Ukraine's president is calling on foreign partners for more military aid. In an interview with CNN, Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukrainian forces fire 1 bullet for every 12 used by Russia.
We need 14 brigades to be ready. Until now, we don't have, from this package of brigades, we didn't equip even 4.
Zelensky also criticized his allies for the slow pace of military aid deliveries. While he did not specifically mention Canada, he could have. Ottawa has a plan to modernize retired army vehicles and send them to Ukraine. But as Murray Brewster tells us, it's being held up by red tape for more than 9 months.
We can't take on any other work because that would take capacity away for this Ukraine project. So we counted on this project very much.
Carl Pfister is president of Armatech, where 100 of his employees have been on standby for months, waiting to begin the restoration ever since the old troop carriers were delivered last winter.
It's not just a rebuild to its old capability it originally had. It's a new capability which we need on the battlefield today.
Defense Minister Bill Blair has already signed off on the plan, but the details of the contract are still being negotiated through the Canadian Commercial Credit Corporation, an arm of the federal government. Pfister is under a gag order, and the federal contracting agency will only acknowledge it's still doing due diligence. Bill Blair declined to say what the holdup might be.
I am told that it's still very much a work in progress, that there are some unresolved issues that need to be addressed. But I have shared with them a sense of urgency.
That sense of urgency is shared by the Ukrainians, who see the Canadian rebuild program as something that might be replicated with literally thousands of retired U.S. military armored vehicles. Bill Blair underlined that Canada is in the process of delivering dozens of brand new armored vehicles to Ukraine from General Dynamics Land Systems. He denies facing any pressure to buy new rather than rebuilt. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Ottawa.
One of the Jackson 5 has died. Tito Jackson was among the beloved members of the pop group the Jackson 5. Tito was the third of 9 children in the Jackson family. The group, which was formed in the early 60s, was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1997. The Jackson 5 produced several #1 hits, including this one, I Want You Back. Tito Jackson was 70 years old. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Martina Fitzgerald. This is CBC News.
1. I'm Emily Brass, filling in today for Marcy Marcusa. Here's what's coming up on the show. We'll hear what happened at an annual celebration highlighting the importance of honoring Treaty 1. CBC went to the We Are All Treaty People celebration yesterday at the Forks. As well, body mass index is out and the body roundness index might be in. We'll hear more about a new metric for measuring weight and health. But first, one of Manitoba's own is featured in a brand new Apple ad. She says as an amputee, her Apple Watch has changed her life. We'll hear her story coming up on Information Radio. "11 minutes after 6 o'clock, time for news headlines with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, the NDP hope to hold on to the federal Elmwood-Transcona riding today in a by-election. That seat's been vacant since Daniel Blakey left federal politics. Leela Dance is trying to hold on to that riding for the NDP. The Conservatives are running candidate Colin Reynolds, Ian McIntyre running for the Liberals. Polls open in Elmwood-Transcona at 8:30 this morning, and they'll stay open until 8:30 tonight. 2 people died in a weekend fire that is now being investigated as a homicide. The fire broke out in a commercial residential mixed building at Main and Atlantic around 3 Saturday morning. Firefighters pulled a 49-year-old man and 38-year-old woman out of one of the suites. Both died later in hospital. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 6:30.
Thank you, Heather. Good morning.
You're welcome.
That was Heather Wells from the CBC Manitoba News Desk. And Abby Adeyemi joins us now with a look at the weather.
16 degrees in the city. Today we're expecting lots of clouds to roll in. We have a good chance of showers and thunderstorms sometime this afternoon. It will be a breezy day. We're going to see highs around 26 for most of the regions, though it's going to be feeling warmer with the humidity factored in. I would say this period of the year is very warm for this time because the normals we get is around 18 degrees. And then for tonight, the showers are still in forecast, possible thunderstorms. That will be ending before we get into tomorrow morning. But for tonight, we're going to see more cloudy skies. Some fog patches will develop overnight. That will be clearing by tomorrow morning. And for the rest of the regions, we're also going to be seeing lots of cloudy conditions and a good chance of showers and thunderstorm sometime this afternoon around your lunch break. But right now, Winnipeg, it is 16 degrees. We're expecting lots of clouds today and some showers sometime in the afternoon. We'll get to a high of 26.
It's like summer still hasn't left us, Abby.
Yeah, as mentioned, the normals for this time of the year is 18 degrees, but, the high we're going to get to 26 today.
I actually went swimming over the weekend at one point.
No doubt.
The water's getting cold, though. Thank you so much, Abby.
Thank you.
That's CBC's Abby Adeyemi. He's also our studio technician. And joining me now in the studio is Corey Funk, back after a 5-week hiatus. Good morning,
Good morning.
Corey.
Yes.
Why were you off for so long?
Had a baby. We had a baby. Yes, I was on parental leave, and it's nice to be here and back, and because I'd probably honestly be up anyways around this time. So
you probably missed your little bundle of joy this morning.
I do. It's actually. I just realized it's probably the longest I will have been away from her since since she was born. A whole 8-hour stretch. It's good to be.
Oh my gosh!
Wild,
you get your life back now.
Yeah, I know. It's weird to talk to an adult. Actually, I'm trying to remember like my vocabulary and stuff. So we'll see if I can get that back today.
Well, you're doing well so far.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So tell us what's going on out there on the roads.
I'm just going to look into my traffic crystal ball here to tomorrow, actually. No, I haven't heard anything right now, but tomorrow, from tomorrow until Wednesday, St. Mary's Road, northbound and southbound between Abbotsford and Craddock, is actually going to be closed entirely for electrical work. But northbound St. Mary's in that section will be open for rush hours, and then southbound will be open for afternoon rush hour. So morning rush hour, northbound will be open. Afternoon rush hour, southbound will be open. So kind of confusing, but anyways, that section of southbound St. Mary's and northbound St. Mary's tomorrow is going to be not super great. So just heads up on that. If you see anything else going on out there, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. How my talking go? Am I doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It all makes sense to me so far, Corey.
Okay, see if I can do the numbers. 204-788-3093. I remembered.
Yay. Quarter after 6, you're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 189.3 FM in Winnipeg, around the world on our CBC Manitoba YouTube channel and the CBC Listen app. I'm Emily Brass. So what's it like to be one of the faces for one of the largest tech giants in the world? Well, a Winnipegger now has an answer. Melissa Shapiro was chosen to be part of Apple's latest international ad campaign, launching this month. She joined Up to Speed host Faith Fundal last Friday. Here's some of their conversation.
So you'll hear that. But you will also see Melissa Shapiro in that advertisement. Tell us how you ended up in Apple's advertising campaign. How did that happen?
Such a surreal experience. So basically, I make videos on Instagram, kind of showcasing how I work out as an adaptive athlete. So I am an above elbow amputee on the left side. So using the Apple Watch in a traditional way, I didn't think would work, and I wasn't really sure if it would be something for me. And it turns out it is, and they have this feature called Assistive Touch with hand gestures. So I'm able to use the watch completely hands-free. And when it comes to inclusion, accessibility, they go hand in hand. It's really important to have accessibility for inclusion, and to be included, you need accessibility. So
you post this. How did you hear from Apple? How did that connection happen?
Yeah, so I was contacted by a casting agency that was kind of looking for real people in their daily lives doing kind of what they do naturally. And they let me know through about a month of communication that it was Apple that was seeking this out. And they were very interested in having me join the production.
I was watching the launch, and literally the very first thing you see in that launch video is you. I think in a hotel room, maybe, and you using the watch. What was it like at the big launch? What did you make of it?
Yeah, so Apple also sent me to the 2024 Apple event in California, where we saw the commercial premiere live. To see myself featured representing the accessibility features is honestly a dream come true.
We often hear from folks that being seen is something more than just being seen. There actually is a big impact. What is that for you when you think about accessibility, when you think about being included, being seen? What does that mean to you?
Representation really matters, and that goes for everything. I never really had a lot of disabled representation growing up, and including role models. And so I think if I can be that for somebody else, it will really make a difference in their lives.
I know for some folks, it being a special thing can also be can bring a negative connotation, but it almost seems like Apple's features, or at least the things that you're talking about, doesn't feel like a special thing. It is just part of it. Where does that land for you?
Yeah, I think just having features that include as many people as possible to be able to use their products is one step forward in the right direction.
What have you heard from your friends and from people in your community?
Just abundant support. I've been so happy with everybody.
They must have been very excited to see you. Did you tell them ahead of time, or did you have to keep it secret?
So the brand was a secret until launch, but people in my life knew that I was in a commercial, and it was such a suspenseful thing to share. And I'm so glad that it's out now, and everybody's been so happy for me, and it's been great.
What were you thinking as you saw the commercial, or as you saw how they put the thing together that you took part in?
Oh my gosh, they did such an amazing job, and the turnaround was so quick. We filmed in Toronto the week of the 12th of August, and by the month later, it was already produced, and I'm just so happy with the final product. I couldn't have asked for anything better, including being the first one that people see.
Do you get anything as well out of it outside of being part of the ad, or can you talk about that?
I got a really lovely gift bag at the event that had a T-shirt, a mug, and a notebook.
Melissa, what are you hoping people will get from the visibility and the representation that comes with this, but even in the conversation that we're having here?
Yeah, I really hope that maybe if there are other disabled folks out there watching the commercial, they can see that, it's something for everyone, and you don't have to, be a non-disabled person to participate in society. Although the onus is typically on disabled people to find accessibility, it is out there, and I think it'll be amazing for people to see.
And outside of your work with Apple, you're going to continue doing your work. I mean, I on Instagram, I know you continue to post about the things that you do, so it's not going to stop.
No, absolutely not. I love making content on Instagram and hopefully inspiring people that have not really learned about disabilities, but also to aspire people with disabilities to know that they're not alone.
Melissa, because I don't remember, what's your Instagram handle again?
It's Melissa with 2 underscores, Shapiro.
Thank you for making space today, and nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Melissa Shapiro is a Winnipegger featured in Apple's latest launch video.
Poplar River First Nation, let's get to know each other a little bit better. CBC's Communities in Focus is coming to your community September 23rd to 27th. I can't wait to meet you and discover the incredible stories that make Poplar River unique. CBC's Communities in Focus, September 23rd to 27th. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for details.
21 minutes after 6 o'clock, you're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM and 990 AM in Winnipeg. You can also check us out on the CBC Listen app and on the CBC Manitoba YouTube channel. Good morning. Well, body mass index, usually just called BMI, is a common metric used in discussions of weight and health. But in recent years, the American Medical Association and other groups have urged against its use, calling it, quote, an imperfect way to measure body fat. Now, a new tool, the Body Roundness Index, is gaining support and could be a more precise replacement. To learn more, we've reached Mary Forhan. She's a professor and chair of the Department of Occupational Science and Occupational Therapy at the University of Toronto's Termerty Faculty of Medicine. She's also the past scientific director of Obesity Canada. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Emily. How are you?
Oh, pretty well for a Monday morning. So
I hear you.
Yes, exactly. So what is body mass index and why is it getting pushback now?
Yeah, so body mass index is simply a calculation of body size using a person's height and a person's body weight. And it's been getting pushback sort of in the medical community and certainly in the work that I've done with Obesity Canada for a number of years, because it's being misused to misclassify individuals who might be at risk of comorbidities associated with a larger body, such as obesity or diabetes or cardiovascular disease. But it was never intended to be a surrogate measure of health. It was really intended when it first started a few hundred years ago to really get a sense of the size of the population in terms of, how big are the bodies in our population. But that's really all it was about. And it's really morphed into something that's really lost its way.
Okay, so how is the Body Roundness Index different?
Well, the key difference with using a body roundness index is, again, it's an arbitrary measure sort of body size, but it's including waist circumference, or the measure around the person's waist, and also a hip circumference, or the measure sort of around a person's hips. And why that's an important distinction is we start to get concerned around an increased risk of health conditions associated when visceral adipose tissue is sort of centered around the center of the body, where some vital organs are, such as the liver, for example. So BRI, or Body Roundness Index, is adding in these measures in its calculation. But again, it's just a starting point. It's just indicating whether is there a reason to maybe have more of a conversation about a person's health and dig a little bit deeper and do some more assessments if they're experiencing some health conditions or it puts them at higher risk. But again, it shouldn't be used as a surrogate measure to not do any further investigations.
Okay, so does BRI paint a more accurate picture of weight and health?
Well, there is some indication that BRI has a stronger association with predicting percentage of body fat. But again, we still don't know, what that means and where is that fat located. And some people may just naturally be rounder, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And we want to celebrate that roundness as a person's just natural size. But if it's at risk, or if there's underlying visceral adipose tissue there in that area, that certainly is some reason for concern and for, a further conversation with your health practitioner. But I would really hate to see us go down the route with BRI that we've done with BMI, and people making really important health decisions simply on a metric. We have got to be really careful about that.
So, yeah, in that case, I'm sure some people are wondering, medically speaking, why do we need a metric like that?
Yeah, well, it's important to have some easy to access metrics. So in this case, it's really easy to calculate BMI or BRI as well with a tape measure and a scale. And that's kind of important for large data sets to kind of get an overview of body size in the population. But when we start applying it to individual people, it becomes problematic. And so from a medical perspective, for research in large databases and seeing some trends, it's really useful. But it's not something we want to rely on as a sole indicator and make some really serious medical decisions based on BRI or BMI.
Yeah, and I know that BMI is something, lately you've been able to just calculate right on your computer very easily.
Yeah.
It sounds like this one too. Do you actually do people measure their own
Yep.
circumference or, yeah?
Yeah, people can. Now, it's hard sometimes to do that because there's a lot of inaccuracies on, where is the waist, where are the hips, because we're all different sizes and different landmarks for that. So there are calculators that people can go on. But again, that's concerning because sometimes then they're linked to, some predatory diet programs and those kinds of things. So we want to be careful if you're using a calculator just to take it at face value. And if it's of a concern for you, is to go and talk to your healthcare provider or person that you trust with your health information to have a further conversation if it's a concern for you.
Okay. And so are there any challenges to making that switch in the medical community? And, do you think BMI is going to fall to the wayside in favor of another option?
Yeah, I think BMI will always be there because it does have its purpose in population health. And I think more and more we're going to see waist circumference and hip measurements coming into play in medical assessments. But I think it's going to take time to change because BMI has been used for so long. It's going to take time to change habits. It's how we capture data, what metrics are being calculated and integrated into people's medical records. So this shift is going to take some time, but the fact that we're having this conversation is definitely a move in the right direction.
Yeah, that will be a big shift. Well, thanks so much, Mary, for joining us and letting us know more about BRI.
Okay, take care, Emily. Have a great day.
You too. Mary Foran is a professor and chair of the Department of Occupational Science and Occupational Therapy at the University of Toronto's Temerty Faculty of Medicine.
The CBC Music Top 20. CBC Music Live. All right. Savor the flavor of the Francophone world on C'est Formidable. Experience the next wave of Indigenous music with Reclaim. The global sounds of frequencies. End your day or start your late night with music on CBC Radio 1. Weeknights at 11:30 in Newfoundland, and on demand on CBC Listen.
Coming up on 29 minutes after 6 o'clock, 16 degrees and clear right now at the Forks. And Corey Funk joins us with a look at the roads. I don't know if those are clear.
Yeah, it's mostly still construction season still very much with us. I got a call from Chris. So Broadway between from Osborne to Sherbrooke, actually westbound, still entirely closed right now, but you can still go both ways. Kind of the city set it up so you can go eastbound. That's expected to last until the 20th, so looking out for that. Also, Lagimodiere. Chief Peguis from Henderson to Lagimodiere is actually going through a lot of construction starting today until October 7th, mostly in the curb and median lanes, but it's going to be very, very congested probably from now until October 7th because of that construction going both ways. So heads up there as well. That does start today. If you've seen anything else going on, give me an update. I'm actually curious to see what you're noticing on Chief Peguis if you are driving down there. 204-788-3093.
Thank you, Corey. Good to have you back.
Good to be back.
Yay. It's awesome. Well, still to come on this hour of the show, a celebration highlighting the importance of treaties took place over the weekend at the Forks. We're going to hear about its impact on people who attended coming up after the local news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is 16 degrees. If you like those weekend temperatures, more of the same today, a high of 26, but we will see clouds move in. Good chance of late day showers. 2 people died in a weekend fire that is now being investigated by homicide detectives. The fire broke out in a commercial residential building at Main and Atlantic around 3 Saturday morning. Firefighters pulled a 49-year-old man and a 38-year-old woman out of one of the suites. Both were taken to hospital in critical condition where they later died. Kimberly Houle lives across the street. Her son heard sirens and woke her up.
It went up so fast. The flames were just, you could just hear things like shooting out of it. Like it was just scary, actually.
2 other people were treated for smoke inhalation. Police say the fire is suspicious. Voters in Elmwood Transcona choose a new MP today. The federal by-election will determine who succeeds Daniel Blakey. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
Blakey's resignation in March has created a wide-open race in Elmwood-Transcona. Leela Dance is trying to hold on to the riding for the New Democrats. The NDP has won the riding in every election except for a lone Conservative victory in 2011. This year, the Conservatives are running candidate Colin Reynolds. Ian McIntyre is running for the Liberals, who have not finished better than third in this riding since the 1990s. The Green candidate is Nicholas Geddert. Sarah Couture is running for the People's Party. Zbig Strejhaj is the candidate for Canadian Future, a new party. More than 10,000 people voted in advance in Elmwood-Transcona. Voting today takes place from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Voters will also cast ballots in a federal by-election in the Montreal riding of LaSalle et Marde-Verdun. The MPs are returning to the House of Commons as well for the first time since the NDP ended its agreement to prop up the minority Liberal government. You can hear the latest on all these stories coming up on World Report at 7. Starting this fall, Ontario and Quebec are offering free RSV shots for newborns and those who are pregnant. But Manitoba will continue offering RSV vaccines only for at-risk infants. Dr. Philippe Lagacé-Weens is a medical microbiologist at St. Boniface Hospital. He says RSV immunization campaigns are an excellent strategy to curb the spread of the virus, but he says the healthcare system is stressed and has limited funds.
Every healthcare system has to prioritize multiple different problems at the same time, obviously, like a shortage of healthcare providers, shortages of nursing, shortages of physicians, outbreaks of tuberculosis, outbreaks of pertussis.
This spring, Canada's Immunization Advisory Committee updated its guidance on preventing RSV. The federal body says public health institutions should start building universal RSV immunization programs covering all infants. A South Osborne church is looking for answers after a vehicle crashed into its building Saturday morning. The crash at Osborne and Brandon destroyed the accessible ramp of the Christian Fellowship Chapel. It also took out a bench churchgoers had donated so people waiting for the bus had a place to sit down. Pastor Tim Harris was with the congregation members the morning after the crash.
They want to know what happened to the person. Is anyone injured? We're staying open. I mean, churches stay open. They're far worse than this across the world, so we're happy to keep our doors open. We even have a pancake breakfast going on, but it was quite the shock to come to church and see this.
Police have yet to release details on that crash. The FBI is investigating how another would-be assassin tried to kill former U.S. President Donald Trump. It happened yesterday at Trump's Mar-a-Lago golf course. Corey Allen is a former U.S. Secret Service agent.
I was thankful that the Secret Service agents who were on his detail were paying close attention to their surroundings. That's what they're trained to do, and spot that there was a rifle barrel sticking through the fence.
A 58-year-old man now is under arrest in connection with the assassination attempt. The Primetime Emmy Awards were handed out last night with Shogun this year's big winner. It ends the night with 18 Emmys in total, including Best Drama. Hacks, meanwhile, upset The Bear to win Best Comedy. All the winners and all the Emmy highlights are on our website this morning at cbcnews.ca. Well, running for a cause. Hundreds of Winnipeggers coming together to raise money for cancer research at this weekend's Terry Fox Run. The race comes 44 years after Fox's Marathon of Hope. Jennifer Graham is a breast cancer survivor.
It's sometimes hard to feel inspired to, put one foot in front of the other during treatment. There's some really low and tough times. But when you come to an event like this, where there's so many different people that are here for the same reason, it's very inspiring.
About 500 people ran in that race at Assiniboine Park. The Terry Fox Run has raised more than $900 million since 1981. You can find more Manitoba news on our website this morning. Just head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
More than $900 million? Was that the
Isn't
number?
that remarkable? Yeah.
Incredible. Amazing how he continued to inspire people for so many years.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much, Heather.
You're welcome.
That's Heather Wells from the CBC Manitoba Newsroom. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Emily Brass, filling in today. 6:35 right now. Time for a look at the weather with Abby Adiemi.
Good morning. 16 in the city. Clear skies we're seeing at this time. Expect some increasing cloudiness and a chance of showers or thunderstorm this afternoon for folks in Winnipeg. It will be a breezy one with high near 26 degrees. And then for tonight, that chance of showers is still going to stay with us. We might feel some thunderstorms coming, but that will definitely be clearing up and then leaving us with some, cloudy skies, some foggy patches here and there, which will stay into tomorrow morning. But expect a lot of fog this evening as you commute. Brandon is sitting at 12 degrees and partly cloudy at this time. We're looking for loads of clouds to roll in. We have a high chance of showers and thunderstorms in the forecast this afternoon. It will be breezy also. Highs for Brandon will be similar to Winnipeg, getting to close to 26, and then cloudy skies are for the evening period. Thompson is sitting at 7. Cloudy conditions also we're seeing. Today will bring a mix of sun and clouds for that part of the province, and a high of 21. For tonight, you see some clear skies. Churchill at 9 and mostly cloudy at this time. Also similar to Thompson, you're going to be seeing a mix of sun and clouds, and with clearer conditions as you get into the afternoon period, you should get to a high of 16. Dauphin is cloudy at this time at 10. Today we'll start up sunny, and then we'll see a transition to a mix of sun and clouds. There's a chance of showers and thunderstorms later in the day. Expect breezy conditions with a high of 26. Gimli, cloudy, 10 degrees at this time. For the Interlake region today, we're expecting cloudy conditions, a chance of showers or thunderstorm, and these would roll into the afternoon period. The winds will be light. We'll get to a high of 25. For Morris, it's 15 degrees at this time. Cloudy conditions you're seeing. The Pembina Valley region is going to see lots of clouds rolling also. We have a good chance of showers and thunderstorm. The breezy conditions will peak up, and then you'd get to a high of 26. We're just looking at across the province, except for the northern areas. We're going to see lots of clouds rolling, a good chance of showers or thunderstorms, and the highs will range from 16 to 26. Clear conditions tomorrow, and then we'll see highs of up to 28 in some areas. In Winnipeg right now, it's 16 degrees.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
That's Abby Adiemi. He's also our studio technician. And our show director, Corey Funk, joins me now in the studio with a look at the traffic.
Yes, it's the end of summer and it's still very construction-y out there right now. Yes.
A lot of orange out there.
A lot of orange, and there's a lot of orange you'll be seeing now on Chief Peguis. Because there is construction starting there today, and that's going to go until October 7th. That's Chief Peguis going from Henderson to La Jamodière, and that is going both ways, mostly going to be happening in the curb and median lanes. So as you can imagine, it's probably be pretty slow going for the next few weeks here on that section of Chief Peguis, so do look out for that. As well, a reminder that there's still construction going on Broadway between Osborne and Furby, mostly westbound, but that eastbound lane is now turned into kind of one way both ways, so still very slow going. That is expected to go, according to the city's website, until September 20th. And finally, looking ahead to tomorrow, a reminder to folks, all the northbound, southbound lanes on St. Mary's Road from Abinogi-Mikina to Craddock are going to be closed for electrical work tomorrow until Wednesday. But the northbound St. Mary's will be open for morning rush hour tomorrow, and southbound will be open for afternoon rush hour tomorrow. So hopefully it's not too bad, but it will probably throw off some folks' commute tomorrow. So look out for that. If you see anything else going on, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
And welcome back.
Good to be back.
Yay.
Yay.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you. It's nice to be talking to grown-ups.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have a grown-up doing the traffic. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, it is now 6:40. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, and it's time for business news. Crystalie Ramlakan joins us with the CBC Business Report. Good morning, Crystalie.
Hi, good morning, Emily.
So passengers are breathing a sigh of relief, I'm sure, after an Air Canada work stoppage was averted. Tell us more about that.
Yes, so it was down to the wire, but the airline has reached a tentative agreement with the union representing about 5,400 pilots, and that's avoiding a strike or lockout for now. Now, the airline was preparing to cancel flights, and about 110,000 travelers a day could have been impacted. Now, the company says customers who use the airline's labor disruption goodwill policy to change their flights originally scheduled between September 15th and September 23rd to any other date before November 30th can change their booking back to their original flight in the same cabin at no cost, provided there is space available. So there is that concession.
That's good, yeah.
Yes. So the agreement includes a raise of almost 42% over 4 years. And that's according to an executive summary of the deal that was posted on the strike site created by the union. And this deal still needs, though, to be approved by pilots. And that's expected to be completed over the next month.
Okay. Now, looking to tomorrow, that's when we're going to get the latest look at the price of things with inflation numbers set to be released. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, economists anticipate inflation fell in August to its lowest level since March of 2021. So they're expecting prices rose 2.1% compared to a year ago, and that would actually be down from the 2.5% that we saw in July. So forecasters believe it's going to be a pretty favorable reading that will put inflation just above the Bank of Canada's 2% target. Now, most of the slowdown is expected to be from a pullback in gas prices. And, the Bank of Canada reduced its key lending rate by 0.25 percentage point earlier this month for the third time in a row. It now sits at 4.25%. And Governor Tiff Macklem said the decision was motivated by falling inflation. And the central bank has signaled a willingness to speed up interest rate cuts if circumstances warrant. And, inflation has remained below 3% since January, and fears of inflation heating up again have gone down since the economy has weakened. So shelter remains the main driver of inflation, and that's as Canadians, of course, face high rents and mortgage payments.
Yeah. So your next story is about how social media platforms plan to use the content you post.
Yes. So Meta will begin training its artificial intelligence models using public content shared by adults on Facebook and Instagram in the UK over the coming months. So the company says it will use photos, captions, and comments, but not private messages or information from accounts of users under the age of 18. Now, earlier this year, the company had paused its plan after questions from European regulators. But now the company says it's engaged positively with Britain's Information Commissioner's Office, and the clarity will help bring AI to Meta products sooner. Now, Facebook and Instagram users in the UK are supposed to start receiving in-app notifications this week, explaining the company's procedure and how users can object to their data being used. But, this company has faced backlash from an advocacy group as well, urging privacy watchdogs to stop this kind of use of social media content. It says that these notifications do not meet the EU's privacy and transparency rules.
Wow, pretty big changes there. And why is Home Depot paying a $2 million settlement?
Well, this is for overcharging customers. So this is a good reminder to check prices at the checkout. The home improvement store is settling a claim in California that it engaged in false advertising and unfair competition. And the complaint says that people were charged more money than was written on shelf tags or even the items themselves. So the company has admitted to no wrongdoing, but it must still pay these penalties and investigation costs. Some of the money is to support future enforcement of consumer protection laws. And Home Depot must also implement a price accuracy program. Now, the Los Angeles District Attorney says false advertising and unfair competition are serious offenses that undermine consumer trust and distort the marketplace. The DA's office says the company was cooperative with the investigation, but Emily, these penalties really are just a drop in the bucket for this company, which is the 5th largest retailer in the U.S.
Yeah, $2 million's not a big amount to them. A good reminder, though, to keep an eye, like you said, on the price going by as all your items are being checked out. Sometimes I get involved with packing the bag at the grocery store, and then later find out you paid more than you were supposed to on something. So
yeah, exactly. Don't feel rushed.
Right?
Just watch the prices. You can pack up your bag after.
Yeah, they can wait another moment for me to make sure I'm paying the right price. So what's happening in the market so far this morning, Crystal Lee?
In Europe, markets are mixed. Germany is down, the UK is down, France is up. In Asia, markets are on the rise. Japan and Shanghai are down right now, though, and Hong Kong is up. Oil is up 32 cents to 68.97 US per barrel. Gold is up 7.68 to $2,585.38 US per ounce. And the dollar is up 0.03 of a cent to 73.6 cents US.
Thank you, Crystalie.
Okay, thanks, Emily.
That was Crystalie Ramlakan with the CBC Business News. 6:46 right now, and Corey Funk joins me in studio with an update on the traffic.
Yeah, I just got a call from Pat, the water dude. He was driving northbound Disraeli Bridge. He let me know that it's actually completely blocked right now. He just sees a lot of emergency vehicles on northbound Disraeli Bridge, and so people are being rerouted onto Sutherland. So if you're planning to head northbound over Disraeli, you can't right now. You're being rerouted onto Sutherland. If you have an update on that or anything else you're seeing out there on the roads, give me a call on the CBC commuter line, 204-788-3093.
And thanks to Pat for calling in. Please do call in.
Yes.
Like Corey said, we love your phone calls
Sure
here
do.
on Information Radio. 6:47, time for some music now. It's officially Polaris Music Prize Week, with a winner being announced tomorrow night. CBC Music has been showcasing the artists in the running over the past few months as part of the Shortlist Summer Series. And this week, they've taken listeners inside the world of Alison Russell's album, The Returner, which already caught the eyes of the Junos and the Grammys this year. From The Returner, here is Alison Russell with the title track.
Now I let go everything that I've known. Let it go out, let it roll out with the tide. I can't think of a thing that hasn't been shot through with pain. Like a nightingale's song in the dead of the night. Goodbye, so long, farewell, all I'll be. Ooh, oblivion. Throw me in the ocean. Ooh, see if I can swim. I'm a wild again. I'm a sad child again. 10 million miles, ooh, I'm burning. I'm a summer dream, I'm a real light dream. I'm worthy of all the goodness and the love that the world's gonna give to me. I'ma give it back 10 times, people, are you ready? If you think you're alone, hold on. Every lie I was told. Watch them wither, watch them scatter with the wind. I can't think of a thing that hasn't been born of a dream. Like a love supreme, like a circle unbroken. Goodbye, so long, farewell, all I'll be. Oblivion. Throw me in the ocean. Ooh, mama, watch me swim. I'm a wild again. I'm a star child again. I've come 10 million miles. Ooh, I'm running. I'm a summer dream. I'm a real light dream. I'm worth
That was Allison Russell with The Returner. Her album of the same name is on the short list for the 2024 Polaris Music Prize, which will be handed out tomorrow night at Massey Hall in Toronto. In the meantime, you can learn more about The Returner as part of CBC Music's Shortlist Shortcuts series on their Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts channels. 6:51, increasing cloudiness today in Winnipeg. Chance of showers this afternoon and thunderstorms. It's going to be breezy too. Right now it's right around 16 degrees at the Forks. Showers tonight, thunderstorms overnight, but ending before morning, then cloudy. Fog patches developing as well. Breezy, low 15. And tomorrow, clearing in the morning. Fog patches breaking up as well. Breezy with a high of 26. And that humidity is sticking around. And still to come in the show, Air Canada will operate as usual this week. The company and its pilots reached a deal over the weekend, and that means no labor stoppage. We're going to hear from Ian Lee of Carleton University, who will explain what went down. The We Are All Treaty People celebration is back. It's the 8th year the Mennonite Central Committee, or MCC, held the event. It serves as a reminder that treaty commitments are not the sole responsibility of Indigenous people, but all people in Canada. Dozens of people gathered, and performers from all nations took the stage, including the Island Breezer, Pacific Island Dancer, and musician Scott Nolan. CBC's Jim Agapito attended the celebration at the Forks, where performer Ray Coco Stevenson was MC.
We started today off in a good way to our elders that we have that's been helping us out with the pipe and water honor ceremony. Let's have a nice warm welcome with our opening song and the singers that's going to be doing that, the Kind Heart Woman Singers.
My name is Carrie Sainer Harvey. I work for Mennonite Central Committee as the I help co-coordinate the Indigenous Neighbors Program for MCC. I'm also one of the organizers of this event. This event it's called the We Are All Treaty People Celebration. It's the 8th year we've done this, and it's sort of grown every year. The purpose of it is to remind us as non-Indigenous folks, newcomers and settlers, folks that the treaty is an important thing. First Nations communities have celebrated every year, and it's one of those things that we have often not thought about very much. And we were encouraged to say this is something important, and so we're gonna do this.
I see a lot of different cultures here being represented. Why is that such an important thing to do?
The treaty is something that when people come here for the first time, treaty is a part of, it's for all of us. In fact, it's in the Constitution that said that we are to respect the treaties as well, even newcomers when they come. And so I think it's a reminder that this isn't just for some people, it's certainly not just for Indigenous people. That treaty is relevant for us. It's about a relationship and a kinship relationship that's ongoing. We have canopies up all over the place. We have a lot of Indigenous artisans that are selling products that they've made, art and cards and other kinds of things. We have the stage where right now the Island Breeze is getting ready to dance shortly, and that's going to be really exciting. We have a lot of free food for everybody. We also have a lot of fun craft tables for people to participate and do some fun things there as well. So it's just a all-around family fun event.
And what are some interesting facts people might learn from this event that they might not know of?
Treaty isn't just about acquiring land, or it's just not about a land agreement. It's about an ongoing relationship, and I think that Knowledge Keepers have been reminding us of that for a long time now, and encouraging us to say that this is an ongoing reciprocal relationship, and it means that we need to be living in respect with each other.
As a non-Indigenous person that helped to organize an event, what does that mean for you?
I think for me, it's been somewhat transformative. It's a lot of work to put this on, and yet the relationships that have come out of this has been extraordinary. I think being able to work together with the Treaty Relations Commission, with Commissioner Ross, and all the amazing other people that come here, starting with this, the pipe and water ceremony is so powerful, and their willingness to say that this is important by honoring us with the pipe ceremony is also just really valuable. For me to come to this and to put this on, it's just like, I'm really honored that they trust us to work together on this.
My name is Mary Jane Swain.
And tell me, what brings you to this event today?
I got invited here today from my friend Donna Jean, and I thought I'd come check it out because I'm treaty anyway. because I think we live all in Canada, so we all have to get along and have to understand each other's cultures, and that's what we have to do. So I just went to the pipe ceremony and the water ceremony. It was really interesting, and I've been to one before, but it was good.
Can you describe for me what the ceremony was like?
Well, he smoked the pipe and he did a prayer in the 4 directions and prayed for all of us, and his wife did the water ceremony and prayed too in her language. I think it was Ojibwe because I could understand a bit of it, and prayed for the people, and then we all got to drink water, so it was nice. It's good to learn the Indigenous culture. I'm still learning myself, but I still attend ceremonies and still come, so it's nice.
Donna Jean Cron.
Now, you brought your friend over here, and why was that important for you to do?
Well, we've been friends for 23 years. I've learned an awful lot from her just as a person. She's a caregiver. I myself just want to learn and respect her culture and make everything better, a better place. Well, I think there's such division in the world, and whatever we can do, even if it's just for a small part, by myself just listening to Mary talk about the water ceremony, the pipe ceremony, that was my first time experiencing that in my life. So it's just about learning, engaging, respecting everyone. When everyone comes together, it's just a better place.
Eric Friesen.
I see that you have a vendor table here and you have some paintings.
I have nomadic style spiritual birds. They're in the tradition of Treaty 1, and then I only have one remaining woodland style, which is traditional art to Treaty 2 and Treaty 3, and that's also the style that Norvell Morrisseau was known for.
And why did you want to be a part of this event today?
Oh, I grew up in the Mennonite church, so I was invited.
As an Indigenous person here, why is it such an important thing to be a part of?
I think it's just good to learn from each other.
Do you think an event like this helps people learn from each other about, understanding each other's cultures?
I think it's a start.
Taking us out were the sweet sounds of the Kind Heart Women Singers performing at the 8th annual We Are All Treaty celebration yesterday at the Forks. Time now for news headlines with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, 2 people died over the weekend in a fire that is now being investigated by homicide detectives. That fire at Main and Atlantic early Saturday morning. And 500 runners at Assiniboine Park for this weekend's Terry Fox Run. The event held across the country raises millions for cancer research every year. We'll take you there in our next local news at 7:30.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
CBC's Heather Wells. And still to come in the next hour of the show, a Winnipeg man raised thousands of dollars to honor his son and wife who died of cancer. We'll hear from him and others who laced up and took part in Winnipeg's annual Terry Fox Run coming up. And World Report is up next.
Today on The Current.
DeRozan drives, reverse, and one.
Former Raptor star DeMar DeRozan buried himself in basketball. From a rough childhood to the stress of an NBA career, he'd work it all out on the court. DeMar DeRozan on how he finally started to open up about his mental health, coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Martina Fitzgerald. We're learning more about Ryan Wesley Routh, the man arrested for allegedly trying to assassinate Donald Trump. The 58-year-old was chased down by the Secret Service yesterday at Trump's Florida golf course. A social media account linked to Routh frequently criticized the former U.S. president. It also includes comments about the last attempt on Trump's life in July. The CBC's Katie Simpson has more from Washington.
Donald Trump was whisked by motorcade away from his private golf club in Palm Beach, Florida. Police say escaping the line of fire of a would-be assassin. The suspect, identified by multiple U.S. news outlets as Ryan Routh, a 58-year-old man from Hawaii. Routh had allegedly been hiding in the bushes along the perimeter of the course, according to Palm Beach County Sheriff Rick Bradshaw.
Now, in the bushes where this guy was is a AK-47 style rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks which were hung on the fence that had ceramic tile in them, and a GoPro, which he was going to take pictures of.
A Secret Service agent opened fire after allegedly spotting the gun barrel. The suspect fled in a vehicle but was quickly tracked down by Highway Patrol. Trump's security detail had already been ramped up in the wake of the first assassination attempt, though authorities acknowledge he's not getting maximum protection.
He's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible.
Trump says he is safe and well, a message he delivered in 2 separate fundraising emails in the hours after the assassination attempt, promising again he will never back down. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
In Ottawa, it is shaping up to be a blockbuster day for federal politicians. Phase 2 of the public inquiry into foreign interference is about to begin. Voters will cast ballots in 2 high-stakes by-elections in Manitoba and Quebec. And parliamentarians are returning to the House of Commons. As Kate McKenna reports, the dynamic in the lower chamber will be different.
Canadians cannot wait.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre pushing for what he wants the most, an election.
They need to vote now for common sense Conservatives, and Jagmeet Singh needs to vote with us to trigger a carbon tax election now.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh changed the conversation earlier this month when he pulled out of an agreement to prop up the Liberal minority government, saying the NDP will move forward on a vote-by-vote basis.
Anything that happens in Parliament will be based on is it in the best interest of Canadians.
The move plunged the minority parliament back into unstable territory, where a non-confidence vote could topple the government. Poilievre has promised to try to make that happen as soon as possible, but he'd need the support of the NDP and the Bloc Québécois. Pollster David Coletto is the CEO of Abacus Data.
I don't think there's any incentive for any of the opposition parties, other than the Conservatives or the government, to want to allow Canadians to pass judgment on the state of affairs.
The latest an election could be held is the fall of 2025, meaning this sitting is one of the last opportunities for the Liberals to pass legislation, including its online harms bill. But with all parties preparing for an eventual election and the Liberals without a dancing partner, it could be a dramatic and unpredictable time on Parliament Hill. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
There are growing concerns about the violence unfolding in the West Bank. Officials say the conflict is reaching unprecedented levels. Humanitarian groups fear the war in Gaza is overshadowing the desperate situation unfolding. They're accusing the Israeli military of using unlawful tactics on people living in the occupied West Bank. CBC's Sasha Petrusik is in Ramallah and joins me now. Sasha, what is the latest on Israeli military operations?
Martina, the war may be going on primarily in Gaza, but ever since last October, the West Bank, which has 3 million Palestinians and is on the other side of Israel, has been very heavily affected. There has been a lot more in the way of Israeli military operations here, mostly focused on the north, cities of Jenin and Tulkarem, but also focused on refugee camps, which are adjacent to those cities, which Israel says is a hotbed of military activity. Some 680 West Bank Palestinians have been killed since October 7th during these military operations, including those that Israel considers militant fighters, armed and unarmed, and civilians, including children. And as far as human rights groups that are watching this are concerned, they are saying that Israel is treating the West Bank as a military zone, which under international law, it has no right to do. I spoke to Sari Bashi, who's the program director for Human Rights Watch and lives here in Ramallah.
In the West Bank, policing standards apply. The Israeli military is an occupying power in the West Bank. Under those circumstances, they are bound by international human rights law. So we are concerned that Israeli ministers have been saying that the Israeli security forces need to do in the West Bank what they've been doing in Gaza.
So there is much more military activity than the West Bank is used to, including these weapons that are almost unknown here, such as attack drones and much heavier concentration of Israeli troops in this part of the occupied territories.
Thank you, Sasha.
My pleasure.
That is the CBC's Sasha Petrusik in Ramallah. The United Nations says as many as 50 people have been killed by fighting in Papua New Guinea. The violence started days ago in a mining community. The National Police Commissioner says illegal miners and settlers are terrorizing traditional landowners. A state of emergency has been declared. The army and police are moving in. Tribal warfare is a growing security problem across Papua New Guinea. Over the next 2 weeks, the U.S. Coast Guard and the public will get a clearer picture of what happened with the Titan submersible. It imploded underwater more than a year ago. All 5 people on board were killed. As Sam Sampson tells us, the lessons learned at this public hearing could change the industry.
We recognize the immense pain and enduring grief this tragedy has caused.
Jason Neubauer is leading the U.S. Coast Guard Marine Board's investigation into the loss of the Titan. The private American submersible imploded last June in international waters near the Titanic's wreckage, killing everyone on board. Though the Coast Guard regularly conducts investigations, this one has new challenges. Retired U.S. Coast Guard Captain Peter Boynton.
It's unusual because it's a submersible, but also because it was in very deep water, almost 1,000 miles to sea from New England. So it made recovery of the evidence very difficult, and that took longer.
In Canada, the Transportation Safety Board continues its investigation into this country's role. The Canadian Coast Guard watched a Canadian vessel tow the Titan through the St. John's Harbour for years. It's still unclear if any of those trips were subject to federal oversight. Marc-André Poisson, former head of investigations at the TSB, says the submersible industry is, at this point, self-regulated.
Have we reached this tipping point now that there's so many of these going on that to protect the public, we need to do a very robust package and bring it to Congress?
He hopes the U.S. can come up with rules that will help Canada and the rest of the world's maritime community. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
China has released a U.S. pastor who was imprisoned 18 years ago. David Lin was jailed for life on fraud charges. He was working as a missionary in China at the time. Washington has insisted he was wrongfully detained. The U.S. State Department is welcoming the news, as is Lin's family in Texas. His daughter says words cannot express their joy. If you missed the Emmys last night, you may not have heard about the big winner.
And the Emmy goes to Shogun.
The FX series won the award for Best Drama. It also broke the record for the most wins by a show in a single season. The historical drama, based in Japan, took home 18 statues. Stars Hiroyuki Sanada and Anna Sawai were both winners in the Best Actor and Actress categories.
And Shogun taught me that when people work together, we can make miracle.
This is to all the women who expect nothing and continue to be an example for everyone. Thank you so much.
They are the first Japanese actors to win Emmys. Shogun takes place in 17th century feudal Japan. Most of it was filmed in British Columbia. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Martina Fitzgerald. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Emily Brass, sitting in as host today. Here's what's coming up on the show. Nearly 44 years ago, Terry Fox was forced to stop his marathon of hope after his cancer came back. But his legacy shone brightly this weekend in Winnipeg. We'll hear from people who ran over the weekend at the annual Terry Fox Run. With more people returning to offices this fall and school being back in session, lots of people are relying on Winnipeg Transit. Is transit ready to have more people on its buses? We'll have that conversation later this hour. But first, good news over the weekend for air travelers. Air Canada and its pilots reached a tentative contract deal. So we'll ask a business professor to walk us through what happened. All that and more coming up on Information Radio. 11 minutes after 7 o'clock. Time for news headlines with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, 2 people died in a weekend fire that is now being investigated by homicide detectives. The fire broke out in a mixed-use building, commercial residential, at Main and Atlantic around 3 Saturday morning. Firefighters pulled a 49-year-old man and a 38-year-old woman out of one of the suites. They were both taken to hospital critical, where they both died. It is Election Day in Elmwood, Transcona. The federal by-election determines who will succeed Daniel Blakey. The NDP has won that riding in every election except for one Conservative victory in 2011. Polls open in Elmwood, Transcona at 8:30 this morning, and they're open until 8:30 tonight. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 7:30.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
That's Heather Wells from the CBC Manitoba News Desk. And joining us now with a look at the forecast is Abby Adeyemi. Good morning, Abby.
Good morning once again. We're looking at forecasts across the province, and we should be seeing a mix of sun and clouds with increasing cloudiness and a chance of showers or thunderstorm in many areas. Temperatures will range from 7 in Thompson all the way to 26 for Winnipeg and the Steinbach area. It will be the winds will be very light, and then it's going to turn to some breezy conditions with fog patches developing overnight. Currently, Winnipeg, it is 16 degrees. We're seeing that beautiful sky outside. If you're watching on YouTube, that's what you should be seeing outside at this point. But just expect more clouds to roll in, because we got a chance of showers this afternoon. We're heading to a high of 26. It's going to be breezy, and then we're going to see some fog patches develop later. In other regions, we're looking at temperatures near 9 degrees for the northern part of the province, with partly cloudy conditions, which will turn to a mix of sun and clouds later. And then for the south, all the way from Brandon to Morris, we're seeing temperatures near 16 degrees and partly cloudy conditions, also with a chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. We're going to see highs near 26. Right now, Winnipeg, we're still at 16 degrees.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
That's CBC's Abby Adeyemi. He's also our studio technician. And with him on the other side of the glass is Kevin Nipatebo, who is producing our CBC Manitoba YouTube channel. And right here in the booth with me is someone with a voice you haven't heard in 5 weeks. Corey Funk is back.
Hello.
How was your time off?
Oh, it was good. It was a lot of time holding a baby and teaching a toddler how to like a baby, which actually didn't take too long, which was very nice.
Okay,
yes.
so another addition to your family.
Yeah, it's growing, and I thought having one kid was a lot of work, but holy smokes, having two, my goodness.
Well, congratulations. Maybe that'll pay off later when they're older and they'll be able to occupy each other's time.
That's the hope. That's what we actually wanted to have. We have they call it the notorious 2 under 2 right now.
Oh, gotcha.
So our kids, our first one is supposed to turn 2 years old, and now we've also got just over a 1 month old. So it's a lot of work, but the hope is that in a year's time we'll be sitting there drinking coffee while they play peacefully. I have it. That's what gets me through picturing that.
Okay,
but it's also very cute right now too.
Crossing my fingers for you on that one. And hopefully people don't have to cross their fingers as they head onto traffic today.
Yeah, a couple things you might want to cross your fingers for. I actually got a call from Pat, who says that northbound Israeli, this was about half an hour ago, I haven't gotten an update since. Northbound Israeli Bridge completely closed right now. Heard from him about half an hour ago. People are being rerouted onto Sutherland, so keep an eye out for that. That may be disrupting your commute this morning. As well, construction starting today on Chief Peguis from Henderson to La Jamodiere, both ways, eastbound and westbound. That's expected to last until October 7th. It's mostly going to be happening in the curb lanes and median lanes going both ways. So it's going to be a pretty slow going on that section of Chief Peguis for the next few weeks. So heads up there as well. If you see anything else going on, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093.
Quarter after 7, 16 degrees and clear at the Forks right now. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM and 990 AM in Winnipeg. And you can also hear us wherever you might be on the CBC Listen app, on our website, and on the CBC Manitoba YouTube channel. I'm Emily Brass. Well, good news for air travelers in this country. Air Canada and its pilots reached a tentative contract deal over the weekend, and that means no labor stoppage, no airport chaos. We're joined by Ian Lee, a professor at the Sprott School of Business at Carleton University. Good morning, Ian.
Good
Good morning, Emily.
So catch us up on the latest developments on the deal and how it came together.
Well, they've been working, Air Canada negotiators and ALPA, which is the Pilots Association, have been working nonstop for the last 5, 6, 7 days. And the pressure has been ratcheting up on them. There's no question about that. The Minister of Labour, Steve McKinnon, has been hovering in the background and putting heat on them. But it's not just the government. It's not just one person. The Minister of Labour. The demands, chambers of commerce across the country, angry flyers, mayors, premiers, business associations, business groups have been steadily increasing the pressure. As many groups have been saying, you cannot allow a strike to happen. You must not allow this to happen. And these negotiators are not living in outer space, immune to what's going on in Canada. They live in Canada. They're aware of what's going on, and they knew that even though the government said it wouldn't intervene, every government has said that, and yet I'm doing a paper right now on this. Governments have intervened from 1950 right up until the present, 37 times. Striking workers in transportation sector have been legislated back to work, and this government has used compulsory binding arbitration to end strikes 7 times. And so they knew that hanging over their head was this threat that if they didn't come to a deal, sooner or later, the government would probably intervene, because it has done so many times in the past. And once you go into binding, it probably would have been a binding arbitration, because the government said they won't go back to work legislation. NDP won't support it. So they probably would have done again what they did with the CNCP. And then both sides lose control because of the process, because the independent arbitrator makes the decision.
Okay, interesting. Meanwhile, of course, there's the pilots union deeply involved in this. What is it saying about the deal?
They released a statement which I found fascinating. They didn't go to the details because it has to be approved by the membership in a ratification vote. But they did release some big picture numbers that really captured my attention. They said it's a 42% increase over 4 years. And more concretely, $1.9 billion over 4 years. That's about $500 million a year. Well, you divide that by the 5,200 pilots, and that's a plus $90,000 a year material benefits increase for each of the 4 years. So that's real. And so, and remember, Air Canada was only late last week was saying maximum we can do is 30%. So the union negotiators were clearly successful in pushing Air Canada up from 30% to 42%.
And what's Air Canada saying about that?
Well, they've been very careful, as they should be. Any big company in negotiations like this should be neutral, but they shouldn't be seen to be trying to influence the ratification vote. So they, because that's considered very inappropriate. So what they did is they released an innocuous statement saying that this agreement demonstrates our respect for the the professionalism and the importance and contribution of the pilots to Air Canada.
And then, of course, there's the air travelers. What does it mean for them, for people who change their tickets, anticipating a labor stoppage?
Excellent point. Excellent question. Those Canadians who have an Air Canada ticket and who changed it to a later date in anticipation of the strike will be protected by Air Canada, meaning that they can, Air Canada said, they can change it back to the original flight with no change fee, assuming there's a seat available, if there's capacity on the plane available. For those who went and bought a ticket with another airline, such as WestJet or Porter, Air Canada's not going to reimburse them, so they should stick with their alternative arrangements.
Okay, so what are the next steps then for formalizing the deal?
Well, they got to go to ratification. And although some pilots have already come out on social media and said, I'm unhappy, don't like this deal because we didn't get parity with the U.S. pilots. So that's how we know they didn't get parity, by the way. Some pilots have already leaked that information on social media. Having said that, because it's such a significant offer, 42% increase, $1.9 billion over 4 years, I think that they will ratify the deal. The majority will, enough to approve it. I think it will get supported. It will be supported by the membership of ALPA.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a pretty good raise. I don't blame them. Thank you so much, Ian.
My pleasure, Emily. Thank you.
Ian Lee is a professor at the Sprott School of Business at Carleton University.
Poplar River First Nation, let's get to know each other a little bit better. CBC's Communities in Focus is coming to your community September 23rd to 27th. I can't wait to meet you and discover the incredible stories that make Poplar River unique. CBC's Communities in Focus, September 23rd to 27th. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for details.
21 minutes after 7 o'clock, you're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg. I'm Emily Brass. Quick traffic update for you. Northbound Disraeli Bridge has now cleared out. It had been blocked by emergency vehicles earlier, but now it sounds like it's smooth sailing, hopefully. Maybe a little slow because it's rush hour, but not as bad as it was earlier. And still to come in this hour of the show, have you ever been waiting for the bus to get to work or school and it just passes you by?
I haven't been traveling in the rush hours. In the off chance that I have, it's always been full.
In those situations, I just skip the bus because I don't want to be in there. Just too many people.
And with more people returning downtown to offices and school being back in session, more people are getting on board with Winnipeg Transit. So after the news, we're going to hear more about what Winnipeggers think about our busy transit system. Well, time now for some music.
She's checked the east, she's checked the west, but she hasn't seemed to have found it yet. She once thought she did, she came so close, but over time she realized she was just living with a ghost. And her hair is a mess and she smells like sage and cedar, and when she gets sad she cries under the moon. Wandering soul, she can't find her home. Wandering soul, nowhere feels right, it all feels like lies. She doesn't know that she can't find it all inside her wandering soul, wandering soul. She can't seem to see it from where she stands. She wonders if it's out there somewhere she can land. Is it just a story someone made up? Either way, she keeps searching, no, she'll never give up. And her hair is a mess and she smells like sage and cedar, and when she gets sad, she cries under the moon. Wandering soul, she can't find her home. Wandering soul, nowhere feels right, it all feels like lies. She doesn't know that she can't find it all inside her wandering soul, wandering soul. Maybe it's time to stand still, maybe it'll come to you. Maybe it's out there somewhere, searching for you too. Wandering soul, she can't find her home. Wandering soul, nowhere feels right, it all feels like lies. She doesn't know that she can't find it all inside her wandering soul, wandering soul.
That was Manitoba's own Jade Turner with Wandering Soul, and she has a new album on the way. 25 minutes after 7 o'clock, you're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. Time now for a look at sports. Scott Regehr joins us with the CBC Sports Report. Good morning, Scott.
Hey there, Emily.
So let's start with baseball. And sadly, what was a tough weekend for the Gold Eyes? What happened?
Well, yeah, Winnipeg playing in the League Championship Series in Illinois lost both of its games. In yesterday's case, Emily, it was a bloop single in the fourth inning that drove in the only run of the contest as the Kane County Cougars defeated the Goldeyes 1-0. Although the team, Winnipeg, didn't even record a hit until the ninth inning, it looked as though they might be able to at least force extra innings after they loaded the bases with just a single out, but then Miles Symington grounded into a double play to end the game. So the series now shifts to Blue Cross Park starting on Tuesday. Winnipeg needing to win that game if they want to have their season continue. No word yet on who will be starting for the Goldeyes in that game.
Yes, let's hope it goes through more games. We don't want it to end on Tuesday. So now to tennis, where Canada continues to impress at the Davis Cup.
And it is victory for Denis Shapovalov, a clinical performance. And Canada are going to the Davis Cup Final 8. It's job done.
And what a job it was by Denis Shapovalov, Emily. Playing in front of a partisan crowd of 16,000 in Manchester yesterday, he beat Britain's Dan Evans in straight sets. He called the first of those, a 6-0 bageling of Evans, the cleanest opening set of his career. But it was the ice cream bar that the Ontario native was seen scarfing back after the match that drew the media's attention.
It's a Canadian show called Shorzy. They eat game sticks after W's, so that's what that was. I'm happy I was able to stay solid and get the win.
Familiar with game sticks, Emily?
No, this is a new one for me, Scott.
Apparently they're drumsticks, if you remember those
yes.
ice cream bars of our youth and maybe our adulthood, too.
Actually, I had one yesterday, so not too
well,
distant of a memory.
There you go. But I'm sure the references to Shorzy, a comedy focusing on small-town Canadian hockey culture, was completely lost on the Brits. Shapovalov's dominance was not lost on them. He'll now focus on the Davis Cup quarterfinals in Spain in November. They'll take place in Malaga, where Shapovalov helped lead the country to its first and only Davis Cup victory back in 2022.
All right. And then finally, it's a big day across the pond for one of the biggest soccer teams in the world. What's going on?
Yeah, and as good as Manchester City has been in winning footy matches over the years, Emily, the focus now is winning in a courtroom. The four-time defending Premiership champions face a slew of alleged financial breaches. More than 100 charges of alleged wrongdoing in all. On the line, yes, is City's reputation, but also a punishment that could be as extreme, Emily, as expulsion from their league. Here's manager Pep Guardiola.
I'm happy that it started on Monday, and I know you will be more rumors and new specialists about the sentences that come up. We're going to see. So I know what the people are looking for. I know what they're expecting. I know it, what I read for many, many years, but I'm set, so everybody's innocent and, guilt is proven. So we see. We are not lawyers.
I'm not sure, Emily, if Guardiola sounds more relieved to finally get court proceedings going or just resign to the court of public opinion there. Sounds exhausted. Since City was purchased by Abu Dhabi's royal family and all of the oil riches that come along with that, the club has brought in a litany of soccer royalty. But the league's financial fair play rules are designed to ensure clubs spend only what they earn. And I know teams like Everton and Notts Forest have already been punished for breaking the rules and have been docked points in the standings as a result. Manchester City, in what British media are calling the sport trial of the century now, face a much, much stiffer punishment than that.
Wow. Okay. A lot going on there. Thank you so much, Scott.
You betcha.
That's Scott Regehr joining us from the CBC Business Desk. The news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it is 16 degrees and summer is dwindling away, but still some warm temperatures today, a high of 26. However, expect showers, a 60% chance of showers or thunderstorms this afternoon and this evening. Voters in Elmwood Transcona choose a new MP today. The federal by-election determines who succeeds Daniel Blakey. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
Blakey's resignation in March has created a wide-open race in Elmwood Transcona. Leela Dance is trying to hold on to the riding for the New Democrats. The NDP has won the riding in every election except for a lone Conservative victory in 2011. This year, the Conservatives are running candidate Colin Reynolds. Ian McIntyre is running for the Liberals, who have not finished better than third in this riding since the 1990s. The Green candidate is Nicholas Geddert. Sarah Couture is running for the People's Party. Zbig Strejhaj is the candidate for Canadian Future, a new party. More than 10,000 people voted in advance in Elmwood Transcona. Voting today takes place from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Another key federal by-election today happens in Montreal in the riding of LaSalle-Imard-Verdun. Voters will cast ballots there. And in Ottawa, MPs return to the House of Commons for the first time since the NDP ended its agreement to prop up the minority Liberal government. 2 people died in a weekend fire that is now being investigated by homicide detectives. Fire broke out in a commercial residential mixed-use building at Main and Atlantic around 3 Saturday morning. Firefighters pulled a 49-year-old man and a 38-year-old woman out of one of the suites, both taken to hospital critical, where they both died. Kimberly Houle lives across the street, and her son heard sirens and woke her up.
It went up so fast. The flames were just, you could just hear things like shooting out of it. Like it was just scary, actually.
2 other people were treated for smoke inhalation, and police for now are calling the fire suspicious. The police watchdog has been called in after a man died in custody of Winnipeg police. Police arrested a man on King Edward East just before 4 yesterday morning. He was wanted on an outstanding warrant. Police say he was medically cleared by the Central Processing Unit and by a paramedic and placed in a holding room at the police headquarters. 3 hours later, he was found unresponsive in that holding room. He later died in hospital. The Independent Investigation Unit of Manitoba has taken over that investigation. The FBI is investigating how another would-be assassin allegedly tried to kill former U.S. President Donald Trump. Happened yesterday at Trump's Mar-a-Lago golf course. Corey Allen is a senior U.S. Secret Service agent.
I was thankful that the Secret Service agents who were on his detail were paying close attention to their surroundings. That's what they're trained to do, and spot that there was a rifle barrel sticking through the fence.
A 58-year-old man is now under arrest in connection with the apparent assassination attempt. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. Canada's Immunization Advisory Committee now recommends public health build RSV immunization programs to cover all infants. But Manitoba is lagging in implementing some of those recommendations. This province will continue offering an RSV antibody treatment for at-risk infants only. Dr. Philippe Lagacé-Wiens is a medical microbiologist at St. Boniface Hospital. He says focusing RSV immunization on children, newborns, and those who are pregnant is a priority.
RSV is a big problem, so it really behooves us to do everything we can to try to reduce the strain on the healthcare system, and it would include getting those vaccines, the RSV vaccine, if it was available.
Starting this fall, free RSV shots for newborns and pregnant people will be offered in Quebec and in Ontario. A crash rattled some people in South Osborne Saturday night. At least 2 damaged vehicles could be seen near the intersection of Osborne and Brandon, including an SUV that crashed into a Christian Fellowship Chapel's accessible ramp. It also took out a bench churchgoers had donated so people waiting for the bus had a place to sit. Mike Young says he's never seen anything like it.
I was sitting on my couch watching TV. I heard a loud bang, kind of sounded like an explosion or a dump truck, and then I heard the commotions of the cops yelling at the individuals in the truck. It was not what you expect to see in this neighborhood.
Police have yet to release details about that crash. Well, the Primetime Emmy Awards were handed out last night, honoring the best in American television. The stars of CBC's Schitt's Creek hosted that ceremony. Eugene Levy and his son Daniel joking about being Canadian in their opening dialogue.
In what can only be described as a cruel joke, 2 Canadians have been put in charge of playing you off tonight.
Canadians don't like interrupting anybody. It goes against our nature.
Confrontation in general is anxiety-inducing.
And at the Emmys, Hacks won Best Comedy Series, Shogun won Best Drama Series, collecting a whopping 18 Emmys for its first season. You can find more news updated throughout the day. Just head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
They're not wrong, Heather. We're very polite here in Canada, aren't we?
I know. You can't just show someone the door.
No. We'll be very politely, and we'll discuss this later.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Heather.
You're welcome.
That's CBC's Heather Wells. And joining us now with a look at the weather is Abby Adeyemi. Good morning, Abby.
Good morning. Can I please tell you the weather now?
Oh, you may certainly. Please share that with us, Abby.
Well, my good friend, you should be expecting a mix of sun and clouds, increasing cloudiness throughout the day, a chance of showers or thunderstorm in some areas. We're going to see temperatures warm up to 26 in Winnipeg, and Steinbach will get to about 28. The winds will vary from light to breezy. We'll see fog patches developing overnight. Winnipeg currently 16. We're expecting some clouds to roll in. We have a good chance of showers or thunderstorms in the forecast for this afternoon. It will be breezy. The temperature, as mentioned, will get to 26 for Winnipeg, and then tonight we'll see that showers stay with us, and it will taper off, leaving us with cloudy conditions and fog patches overnight. Heading west to Brandon, 11 and partly cloudy at this time. Lots of clouds will roll in later. We're going to see a good chance of showers in the forecast, and of course, some thunderstorms to go with that in the afternoon. Expect a breezy day, high also around 26. Some fog patches overnight. Thompson is partly cloudy at 7 degrees. We should be seeing a mix of sun and clouds today, high 21. Churchill, 8 degrees, mostly cloudy. Expect a mix of sun and clouds also, and then that should be clearing by the late afternoon period. We're going to see highs near 16. Dauphin, 10 and mostly cloudy, respecting sunny conditions this morning. Then we see a transition to a mix of sun and clouds. There's a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the forecast for late this afternoon. The winds will be breezy from the southeast, and then you see highs around 26. Gimli, 11 and cloudy. The Interlake region is expecting some cloudy conditions later today, and then a chance of showers or thunderstorms in the forecast for the afternoon period, high 25. Steinbach, good morning, folks. You are cloudy at 16 at this time. Some clouds will roll in later. You have a good chance of showers in the forecast. That would come with some thunderstorms, maybe. And then that's expected this afternoon. The day will be breezy. You're going to get to a high of 26. Morris, 16 and cloudy. The forecast for the Pembina Valley region today, we're expecting lots of clouds also in that part of the region. We'll see a chance of showers or thunderstorms. The winds will be picking up, and then some breezy southwest conditions you will feel. Also, you're getting to a high of 26. Across board, I'll tell you, expect lots of clouds to roll in, a chance of showers and thunderstorm, especially in the afternoon period, and then temperatures will range from 21 in Thompson all the way to 28 for Steinbach and Morris. And then for tomorrow, you see some clear skies.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
That's CBC's Abby Adeyemi. Joining us from the other side of the glass and also in the control room is Kevin Nipatebo, who produces our CBC Manitoba YouTube channel. And a pro tip for you, if you do watch on the YouTube channel, you'll be able to see Abby's forecast. You'll see the maps and the temperatures. So a great way to check out our show. Also now joining me is Corey Funk after his 5-week parental leave, coming back with his 2-time Father Award.
Yeah, I'm holding them in my hand right now. They give those out now. It's awesome.
You've been holding a baby so long, your arms kind of feel like
it's true. I'm actually feel very hungry. I'm like a cooked shrimp now. I'm just like, oh, my back is constantly hurting. Oh my gosh. Anyways, there's a couple things to look out for in traffic right now. It's particularly Chief Peguis. There's actually a brand new construction starting today until October 7th, both ways from Henderson to La Jamodiere. It's going to be happening mainly in the curb and median lanes, but it's probably going to be causing some pretty big disruptions for folks over the next few weeks. So heads up there. As well, looking ahead, just some reminder to folks, tomorrow morning, starting tomorrow morning, for about a day or so, there's going to be electrical work happening on St. Mary's between Abenoji-Mikana and Craddock, going both ways. So that means that, but they will be opening northbound in the morning for rush hour and southbound in the afternoon for rush hour. But going either way, it's still going to probably cause some disruptions for folks tomorrow as well. And one final thing, I'm actually curious if anyone wants to call in to tell me about it. There's now apparently, Megan Ketchison was telling me about it, roundabout now at St. Mary's and the perimeter right now.
Wow.
Kind of new, and that kind of takes you kind of to that new bridge that kind of goes over top that they've been building for the last little while.
Mhm.
And it's kind of throwing some folks off because it's new. I mean, we have roundabouts in Winnipeg, but it's a kind of a new thing for folks to navigate. So I'm curious to see if you have any tips for folks who maybe haven't taken it yet. If what's your experience been like? Give me a call on the CBC commuter line. Tell me about that or anything else you're seeing out there on the roads. Give me a call. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
Thank you so much, Corey.
Thank
That's
you.
Corey Funk back after his 5-week parental leave. Good to have you back, Corey.
Good to be back.
So Terry Fox's story has inspired hope, courage, and resilience to millions of people around the world. And his Marathon of Hope was forced to stop nearly 44 years ago near Thunder Bay, Ontario. Terry Fox's Marathon of Hope ended, and he died the following year. But people continue to be inspired. Hundreds came out to Assiniboine Park this weekend for the annual Terry Fox Run. The Canada-wide event raises millions of dollars every year for cancer research. CBC's Arturo Chang spoke to people at the event.
Breast cancer survivor.
How many times have you been coming to this race?
Ooh, it's been a while, but this is my first run since becoming a volunteer with the Terry Fox Marathon of Hope Cancer Care Network. I'm on a patient working group. That's a national working group of patients interacting with researchers. So it's the first time in a while, but it's the first of many to come.
As a cancer survivor, this must mean something special to you. Can you tell me more about what this race means?
Well, this race means everything. It means hope. It means community. It lets a survivor know that they're not alone. There are a lot of people cheering and rooting for you when you go through cancer, and it's sometimes hard to feel inspired to, put one foot in front of the other during treatment. There's some really low and tough times, but when you come to an event like this, where there's so many different people that are here for the same reason, it's very inspiring, and it motivates me to continue on and do volunteering and remember the people that have gone before, that are living with it right now and struggling or just getting diagnosed. So, we're here for you. We are doing the work while you are in your dark times, and we will never give up, and no matter what, we're going to cure cancer.
Have you been able to talk with other cancer survivors or people struggling still with cancer in this race so far?
Well, I was high-fiving anyone in a red shirt today for sure, because they're here and you're upright and you're walking and you feel proud that, everyone has their own personal journey with their cancer. Every cancer is different, and so everyone's treatment is different. And that's the great thing about Terry Fox Foundation, Terry Fox Research Institute. We're working on precision medicine, precision oncology, so that if a person is diagnosed with cancer, they will be able to get treatment that is tailored to them, with the hope that the outcome will be greater for them. So we're working to custom care.
How things have been going so far?
It's a 2.5 kilometer run, and people were running, walking, rolling through. People of all ages, all backgrounds. We are all sadly united by cancer. We can overcome it, and we're here together, and it's a beautiful Manitoba. Feels like summer, so it's wonderful. We had over 500 donors. We've raised almost $60,000.
Bob Adkins.
I can see that you're wearing some gear, Team Mark. Can you explain what that means?
Mark was my oldest son. He passed away in 2018 from pancreatic cancer, and his brother, so Jake and Rye, and it was Jake whose idea was to do this type of a thing. And then we changed it. We've added Nancy's name. Nancy is my wife who passed away last September, and so we've added her name to our team. And the people that come out are basically family and friends of Nancy's and Mark and myself and my sons, and we've always had a really good turnout, and it's a wonderful thing to do, and it works because of Terry Fox. Mark, when he was in kindergarten, he started doing the Terry Fox runs because that was the first year that Terry Fox did it. So he did it all through elementary school and into high school, and then he became a lawyer in New York, and he joined the Canadian Club there, and they had a Terry Fox run. And so the picture was in 2015. My wife and I were actually there, and we took a picture of our family. They did the run. My wife and I walked around Central Park. So that was his involvement with Terry Fox. And so it was a lifelong part of his life, and also for my son. So we're involved in the same sense. So we found it to be a positive thing to do. And we think it's great because it's going to research, and it is because of Terry Fox that all of this is happening. So we're just pleased to help out.
For a good cause, but also it's something that's significant for your family.
It's unbelievable. For the period of time just getting ready, when I write the little notes, send people, tell them about where it's happening, it just brings back a flood of memories. And then when I see all these people are here, and they're all friends of ours and friends of Nancy's, and who knew Mark, and to have them all out every year without fail, they're here. And they wear their red shirts, they put them away and bring them out for this event. And now they've got hats for Nancy. So this will continue. And it's been a very positive thing.
How many people are on Team Mark?
I don't know, I've had 150 hats, and most of them are gone. We had about 78 donors, I think it was. But some of those donors had a family of 5 out. So there's a lot of people that were participating. My son is from Vancouver. He brought his 2 children. My son here's in Winnipeg, and his whole family was out, so we had 5 from his family. And everybody's here with their kids and grandkids. A lot of us have got grandkids now. So.
How was the actual race today, though?
Well, my race was very slow, meandering, but that's all right. My mind was enjoying being out here and being with everybody, so it didn't matter at all. I'm not in it to win it. I'm in it to participate and support Terry Fox.
That was Bob Adkins, who took part in this year's annual Terry Fox Run, speaking with CBC's Arturo Chang. And in case you were wondering, Team Nancy and Mark raised $15,000 this year.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
I'm really concerned.
And I'm not really happy about that.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take. I'm Janet Stewart. From 12:30 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
It just brings everyone together.
Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you, weekdays on CBC.
It's 7:47. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM and 990 AM in Winnipeg and around the world on the CBC Manitoba YouTube channel and the CBC Listen app. I'm Emily Brass, sitting in today as your host. Well, we have new music from Winnipeg-based singer Kelly Badeau. The artist wrote this song after saying her final goodbye to her mother, and she wrote it as a reminder to cherish the time you have with those you love. Here's Kelly Badeau with Le temps qu'on a, which means the time we have.
Après, flétri, si futile, il nous rappelle souvent, j'aimerais lui dire, le temps va pas si vite. On ferait mieux de passer notre temps, à profiter de tout le temps qu'on a, ranimer tous nos souvenirs d'enfants, et ce qu'on crée une fois plus grand. 4 saisons, une vie entière, qui file à la vitesse éclair. On ferait mieux de passer notre temps à profiter du temps.
Winnipegger Kelly Badeau with Le Temps qu'on a, which means the time we have, written after her final goodbye to her mother, who in the song sounds like was 90 years old. Just 9 minutes now before 8 o'clock, you're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Emily Brass. Well, from being left at the bus stop to having to take 3 buses just to get to class on time, some Winnipeg Transit users are complaining about their morning commute. With our growing city and back to school and more people returning to offices downtown, Winnipeg Transit is the busiest it's been in years, with ridership just about back at pre-pandemic levels. According to data from the city for 2024 so far, Winnipeg Transit has averaged about 4 million trips a month. That's up nearly 500,000 trips a month compared to 2023, and just a bit under the number of monthly trips in 2019 before the pandemic began. So what does this increased ridership mean for passengers? Kyle Owens is president of Functional Transit Winnipeg, a group advocating for better service and accessibility on our buses, and he spends a lot of time talking with Winnipeggers about how they think transit could improve. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning.
So what do you think? Is Winnipeg Transit ready to handle more people on buses right now?
Well, the good news is that if transit worked for you well before the pandemic, it'll work now too. Those buses are back on the road. And the great news is that if transit hasn't worked for you in the past, it's been unreliable. There's great news. This summer, June 2025, we're going to see a huge improvement in efficiency and service across the city. The first part of the Transit Master Plan rolls into effect. It's a long-term investment in service. We're going to see frequent service across the city. It's so exciting.
Of course, that's 9 months away. What about transit right now at the moment? What are some of the challenges you've been hearing about?
Well, transit in Winnipeg has suffered for a long time from a lack of real investment in service. We've seen big projects like the Blue Line to the University of Manitoba, but those tend to be really servicing particular areas back and forth. They hugely improve convenience for those areas, but they don't affect the network. And the network is the real benefit of transit. There's no better way to move tens of thousands of people, but you need to be able to have efficiency across the system. Because Winnipeg Transit hasn't had that investment that we're really looking for in a long time, we see unreliability. Buses don't come as often as we'd like. And what that means is that they bunch up, there's big gaps. Slow services can be frustrating for people, but unreliability is a deal breaker.
Okay. And another complaint we've been hearing about Winnipeg Transit is pass-ups, where a bus drives by, people are waiting at a stop, but it's already full, so they go on by. And September's historically the worst month for pass-ups. What do you think Winnipeg Transit could do to address this issue that happens every year?
Winnipeg Transit does the best it can. They do a fantastic job of managing service as best they can with the existing infrastructure and service that they can use from the city. The fact is that they're trying to service tens of thousands, more than 100,000 Winnipeggers use Winnipeg Transit every day. And without that investment, without ensuring frequent service, there's very little that we can do to improve efficiency. A full bus is so frustrating for everyone because you can see your bus go right by, you're there, it goes by, and you just feel so frustrated. But the fact is that having more buses on the road in the right place at the right time is a huge improvement in efficiency. And we're going to see that in just a couple of months. And the fact is that by understanding that that's just a little bit ways away, I think that's going to be a big change for the city.
Well, and of course, transit has often pointed to a shortage of staff for some of these problems, but a spokesperson says now it's responded by hiring 271 new drivers over the past year. It also hired 16 more maintenance staff. It's looking for 11 more. How helpful will it be to have more drivers and mechanics when it comes to getting more people on buses?
Oh, it's a huge improvement. The fact is that, as I said, Winnipeg Transit does absolutely the best it can. It's really trying to get those buses back on the road. Making sure that there's just enough service in place makes a huge difference in improving that reliability. COVID was so hard.
Oh, we're having trouble hearing you there, Kyle. Could you repeat that? Okay, I think we are having trouble with our connection to Kyle Owens right now. He's the president of Functional Transit Winnipeg, joining us over Zoom. So I think we will go now to the CBC News headlines.
Good morning. Well, the New Democrats hope to hold on to the Elmwood-Transcona riding in today's federal by-election here in Winnipeg. That seat has been vacant since the NDP's Daniel Blakey left federal politics. Leela Dance trying to hold on to the riding for the NDP. Conservatives are running candidate Colin Reynolds, and Ian McIntyre is running for the Liberals. Polls open in about half an hour at 8:30 this morning. They'll be open until 8:30 tonight. The police watchdog has been called in after a man died in custody of Winnipeg police. Police arrested a man on King Edward Street East just before 4 yesterday morning on an outstanding warrant. Police say he was placed in a holding room at police headquarters. 3 hours later, he was found unresponsive. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 8:30.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
That's CBC's Heather Wells. 16 degrees right now at the Forks, increasing cloudiness today with a chance of showers or thunderstorms this afternoon. It's going to be breezy as well with a high of 26. With the humidity, it'll feel like 32. Tonight, showers with thunderstorms developing, but ending before morning, then cloudy with fog patches developing overnight, breezy low 15, and clearing tomorrow morning. Fog patches breaking up, breezy with a high of 26. 34 with the humidex. Who would have thought in September? And joining us now with a look at the roads is Corey Funk.
Yeah, construction season continues. And today, starting today, Chief Peguis from Henderson to La Jamodière is going to be seeing some construction starting all the way until October 7th. And mostly is going to be happening in the eastbound and westbound curb lanes and median lanes. So as you can imagine, that's probably going to make things a lot more congested on there for the next few weeks. So just heads up there. That's Chief Peguis from Henderson to La Jamodière both ways. If you see anything else going on out there, give me a call on that CBC commuter line. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Well, coming up in the next half hour of the show, CBC community reporter Shannalee Vidal is going to take us to Selkirk. That's where outdoor bunnies are breeding. You know, the cute, fluffy ones that you might find in a pet store. But they're leaving some residents hopping mad. We're going to find out why during the next half hour of Information Radio. You're listening to CBC Radio 189.3 FM and 990 AM in Winnipeg, around the world on the CBC Listen app, on our website, and on the CBC Manitoba YouTube channel. World Report is coming up next.
On Q with Tom Power.
Kate Hudson stars in the new movie Shell about a predatory health clinic with a controversial experimental treatment that gives you eternal youth. Kate will talk a little bit about the pressure to stay young in Hollywood and her career-defining role in the film Almost Famous.
We inspire the music. We're here because of the music.
That's coming up on Q, followed by Commotion with Elamine Abdel Mahmoud on CBC Radio 1, the CBC Listen app, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
Former Raptor star DeMar DeRozan buried himself in basketball. From a rough childhood to the stress of an NBA career, he'd work it all out on the court. DeMar DeRozan on how he finally started to open up about his mental health. Coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Martina Fitzgerald. More details are emerging about the man accused of an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. He was taken into custody by the Secret Service yesterday after an incident at Trump's golf course in Palm Beach, Florida. The CBC's Caroline Bargout joins us now from Washington. Caroline, what do we know about the suspect?
Well, the suspect has been identified as Ryan Wesley Routh. He's a 58-year-old American man that was living in Hawaii. Now, U.S. media are reporting that Routh has a lengthy police record in North Carolina and had been arrested 8 times. He's also very active on social media, especially about the war in Ukraine. In fact, last year, he told the New York Times that he had traveled to Ukraine and wanted to recruit Afghan soldiers to fight there. He also said that he was willing to fight and die there himself. Chris Sowecker is a former head of the FBI.
He is an individual who's been living out loud on the social media platforms that we all use. He has called out for people to send him their passport copies, their military experience, their resumes, and what other battles they have fought in.
Now, investigators are working to figure out what a possible motive could be and why he allegedly wanted to kill former President Donald Trump, and if he was working alone, which at this point it appears that he was.
Caroline, how might this incident affect Trump's campaign going forward?
Well, the question is, will security be increased going forward? Because there's, of course, a number of questions about how this could have happened. You know, why the perimeter of this golf course wasn't completely secure, especially since there'd already been one attempted assassination of the former president in Butler, Pennsylvania 2 months ago. Another question that investigators are asking is, how did Routh know that Trump was going to be at the golf course at that time? Because, of course, he's not a sitting president, so his schedule isn't made public. Now, investigators have to figure out how Routh knew that he would be there and that he would be golfing at the time that he was.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thanks.
That is the CBC's Caroline Bargout in Washington. Voters are going to the polls in 2 by-elections. One is in Winnipeg, in the NDP stronghold of Elmwood-Transcona. The other is in Montreal, in the traditionally safe Liberal riding of La Salle-Imar-Verdun. Polls suggest it will be a close 3-way race. Meanwhile, on Parliament Hill, MPs are getting back to work. So is the Commission on Foreign Interference. Phase 2 of that inquiry will look at what Canada needs to do in the future to prevent foreign meddling. For more, let's go to Janice McGregor in our Parliamentary Bureau. Janice, the inquiry didn't take much of a summer break. What has the Commission been up to?
Martina, the Commission traveled across Canada this summer. It held 22 meetings in undisclosed locations so it could hear directly from communities about what kinds of measures might better protect them. Not only members of the Chinese, Indian, Russian diaspora, but also Tamils, Eritreans, Tibetans, Falun Gong practitioners, 105 people in all, speaking in their own languages when they needed to, and their submissions are going to remain anonymous so they can't be targeted for what they said. There's also been progress on a fight that's still ongoing over the inquiry's access to documents that the government considers cabinet confidences. On August 30th, the terms of reference were modified, so additional documents from Canada's spy agency that were used to brief cabinet could be handed over. It's possible that public's never going to know what's in these, but at least the commissioner now has seen them. Justice Ugg Friday, though, also revealed something she won't be doing, naming the names of current or former parliamentarians accused in that bombshell report last spring of wittingly or unwittingly participating in foreign meddling. The commissioner has now seen all the intelligence that drove that report, but she says the Inquiries Act will not let her name individuals without giving them a right to be heard.
Janice, if Commissioner Ugg is unable to name names, that punts the issue back to Parliament, right?
Yes, and remember how right before the House rose for the summer, NDP MP Jenny Kwan argued that following this report from a committee of her fellow parliamentarians that basically suggested there could be effectively traitors in their midst, the suspicions hanging over diaspora politicians in particular were violating her rights and privileges as an MP. Speaker Greg Fergus is expected to hear arguments from each party later today about how parliamentarians might have to deal with this themselves.
Thank you, Janice.
You're welcome.
That is the CBC's Janice McGregor reporting from Ottawa. The head of the UN body overseeing aid and reconstruction in Gaza says the world is failing innocent civilians there. Sigrid Kaag says the international community is not meeting Gaza's humanitarian needs. She will deliver her report to the United Nations Security Council today and warns it will be somber, perhaps dark.
We've built all systems to be in place, but there's no substitute for political will and the political choice to improve matters. The ceasefire and release of the hostages is desperately needed. Not much else can be improved until we reach that point.
The UN says since the war between Israel and Hamas began almost a year ago, more than 40,000 people in Gaza have been killed. Close to 2 million others have been displaced. The German government is facing mounting criticism over new border checks starting today. Berlin argues they're needed to stop irregular migration. But as Abby Kugadassan tells us, some of Germany's European partners are condemning the move.
A German police officer pulls over a vehicle at one of its land borders. not rare, but unusual, since the European Union went passport-free in 1995 with the Schengen Agreement. Today, 25 nations are part of the deal, and some are not pleased that Berlin says it's moving to curb irregular migration with temporary border checks. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk says this type of action is unacceptable. Others worry a fundamental achievement of the EU is under threat, the right to the freedom of movement. But German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock disagrees. She told Parliament that Germany will continue on a European path and protect Schengen. Inside Germany, plenty of questions about Chancellor Olaf Scholz's decision. The chairman of the Federal Police Union, Andreas Roskop, says the force is already stretched thin. Scholz has been under immense pressure to be tougher on irregular migration, especially after a fatal stabbing attack in August. An asylum seeker is accused of carrying it out. The far right has seized the moment to accuse the chancellor of being weak on national security and immigration. The AfD surged in 2 recent state elections. Abby Kwadasen for CBC News, Berlin.
A team of Toronto researchers is showing how artificial intelligence can be a powerful tool in healthcare. They developed an early warning app. It led to a dramatic drop in unexpected patient deaths. As Lauren Pelly reports, there's hope it could one day help hospitals across the country.
So if I check this paging device, I'm seeing that there's a chart watch alert for the patient in the room down the hall saying that they're at high risk of having a deterioration event. So let me.
Dr. Amal Verma is a clinician scientist with the Unity Health Toronto Hospital Network. He helped develop ChartWatch, an artificial intelligence tool being used at St. Michael's Hospital. The early warning system tracks dozens of inputs into patients' electronic medical records.
So a patient's vital signs, their heart rate, their blood pressure that the nurses enter into the medical record.
And it tells medical teams if someone is suddenly getting sicker.
And we found a 26% reduction in unexpected deaths on our medical unit that was using ChartWatch.
That striking finding is published today in the Canadian Medical Association Journal. Verma says using AI to predict sudden patient deaths is giving the team a chance to prevent them by either speeding up treatments or offering palliative care.
I thought this paper was a really interesting real-world study of trying modern predictive artificial intelligence techniques.
But University of British Columbia AI expert Dr. John Jose Nunez says the findings could change in different healthcare settings, meaning more research is still needed. The study authors told CBC News they're hoping to try their technology beyond the walls of one Toronto hospital in hopes of one day rolling it out to more patients across Canada. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
One of the Jackson 5 has died. Tito Jackson was among the beloved members of the pop group the Jackson 5. He was the third of 9 children in the Jackson family. The group, which was formed in the early 60s, was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1997. The Jackson 5 produced several #1 hits, including this one, I Want You Back. Tito Jackson was 70 years old. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Martina Fitzgerald. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. It's 16 degrees and mostly cloudy at the Winnipeg Airport, 7 degrees over at the Forks. And you're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg, around the world on our CBC Manitoba YouTube channel and on the CBC Listen app. I'm Emily Brass, filling in today as host. Here's what's still to come on the show. Well, they might look cute and fluffy with their floppy ears and fuzzy fur, but domesticated rabbits are causing major concerns for Selkirk residents, and their numbers continue to grow. We're going to head to Selkirk with our CBC Manitoba community reporter Shanley Vidal and learn what's being done to address that issue. All that and more still to come on Information Radio. 11 minutes after 8 o'clock, time for news headlines with Heather Wells.
Good morning. 2 people died in a weekend fire that is now being investigated by homicide detectives. The fire broke out in a mixed-use building, commercial and residential, at Main and Atlantic around 3 Saturday morning. Firefighters pulled a 49-year-old man and a 38-year-old woman out of one of the suites. Both were taken to hospital where they died. Well, polls are just 20 minutes from opening in a federal by-election in Elmwood, Transcona. People in that riding will choose an MP to succeed Daniel Blakey, who resigned back in March. Polls open at 8:30 this morning, and they'll be open until 8:30 tonight. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 8:30.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
That's Heather Wells from the CBC Manitoba newsroom. And on the other side of the glass is our studio technician, Abby Ediemi, who's taking a look at the forecast.
We're expecting a mix of sun and clouds today. Most of the regions will see some clouds roll in, a chance of showers or thunderstorm in many areas, and temperatures will warm up to mid-20s for today from the northern part all the way down south. Winds will vary from light to breezy, and then we'll see some fog patches developing overnight. Currently, Winnipeg, 17 degrees now. We're expecting clouds to roll in, a strong chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. It will be breezy. It's going to pick up, and then we're looking at a high of 26. Similar conditions for tonight, though that should taper off before tomorrow morning. And in other regions, we're seeing temperatures near 9 degrees in the north, and we're seeing temperatures hover near 17 degrees for down south with highs close to 28. Right now, 17 in Winnipeg, and we're heading to a high of 26.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
That's CBC's Abby Ediemi. And joining us now with a look at the roads is Corey Funk.
Hello. Yeah, just flagging a couple things to keep an eye out for. There's some new construction starting today on Chief Peguis starting from Henderson to Lagimodiere, actually going both ways. And that's expected to last until October 7th. And most of that construction is going to be happening in the curb and median lanes, but also some of the turn lanes and things like that. So it's going to be probably pretty slow going on Chief Peguis between Henderson and Lagimodiere for the next few weeks. So heads up there. And just looking ahead to tomorrow, just a reminder to folks who take St. Mary's on their commute. St. Mary's between Abinogi Mikana and Craddock Avenue is going to be closed actually both ways, just pretty much for tomorrow and into maybe Wednesday as well for electrical work. And they are going to be opening northbound for AM traffic and southbound for afternoon traffic. So keep that in mind. It's going to be a little bit slow going down St. Mary's tomorrow. If you see anything else going on out there, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093.
Coming up on 8:15, you're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg. I'm Emily Brass. Well, they're a lot like the animals you might find at a pet store, except they're hopping around the streets and through people's yards. Selkirk residents are dealing with an overpopulation of domesticated rabbits. And while the fluffy bunnies might look cute, they're also causing some pretty big problems. CBC Manitoba community reporter Shannalee Vidal went to Selkirk to find out what's happening with these bunnies. Good morning, Shannalee.
Good morning, Emily.
Well, so how did you come to learn about this rabbit situation?
Well, on social media, I've seen several posts referencing overpopulation. I saw a photo of rabbits in a parking lot. It looked like someone had thrown carrots to them. I saw many posts with people concerned about their gardens and about these rabbits attracting predatory animals. I even saw a post in a lost and found pet group where someone found some under a vehicle at an auto body shop. I also saw a post from someone who wanted to help manage the overpopulation. So I went to Selkirk and I met up with Paige Ryer, who has a pet rabbit at home named Minnow.
I've lived here for 5 years and I've noticed it the last 3 years, and the last year I've noticed like an explosion, and they're kind of just everywhere on this side of the city right now. Selkirk Avenue is pretty bad. Moody, Sophia, Mercy, Strathnaver, in front of the Hydro building over there as well is usually pretty bad. So usually like cottontail wild rabbits are just like brown and white, but these rabbits are black, multicolored, beige, orange. They have lop ears. The most common breed I'm seeing in them is lion heads, and that's not a wild breed of rabbits. They've pretty much claimed this area of Selkirk as their own. I don't see You see some squirrels over here, but I don't think I've ever seen a cottontail rabbit over here in a long time. My biggest fear is having the domestic rabbits expand through Selkirk, which is why I'm trying to put a stop to it.
Paige suggested that we meet at the intersection of Moody and Sophia, and she told me it's a popular place for these rabbits to gather.
Oh, wow. So what did you see there?
Well, Paige told me that there are usually many out on lawns and in the street on warmer days, and in the evening. It was a cooler day when I was there. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary at first, but then when I looked closer, I saw a fluffy white bunny stretched out near a tree on someone's front lawn. I even saw a baby one that skittered off behind a bushy fence. On the sidewalk, there are a couple of beige ones, and there's also a beige rabbit across the street, and one that was hopping around someone else's lawn where a fence and yellow tape had been put up to keep people from entering. Paige told me that some residents in the area have put signs on their lawns, and she showed me a photo and said she took of one of the signs, and it was made of cardboard, and in black marker it said, "Do not enter property, do not chase rabbits, they will run onto roadway, sorry, things were getting out of hand." So nobody knows how many bunnies are loose in Selkirk, just that it's enough to be very noticeable.
Yeah, and actually on our YouTube channel right now, we're seeing some video of those cute little bunnies that are such rascals for the people who are living there. Does everyone in Selkirk feel the way Paige feels?
Well, it's actually a rather divisive topic in Selkirk. Here is Paige Ryer again.
It's very controversial. A lot of people would prefer if we left them alone, but a lot of people are concerned. So I'm hoping that people are going to be able to speak up now about helping them, because a lot of people think these are wild rabbits and they're not. A lot of people are keeping them as pets in their backyard, so we kind of need help with the city to be able to get all these rabbits off the street.
And so that could involve going into people's yards?
Yes, unfortunately. At first I was looking at opening my own rescue, but then I reached out to Popcorns and Binkies, and they thought it'd probably be best if I just worked with them instead of opening something myself, so that's what we're doing.
I also met up with the CAO of Selkirk, Dwayne Nickel, who told me that the city was recently made aware of the situation.
Because they're domesticated rabbits, and because domesticated rabbits require human-provided shelter and food, releasing them into the wild is a form of animal abuse. The city does not enforce animal abuse legislation, so we contacted the chief veterinary officer in Manitoba as well as the RCP to let them know and to make the request that an investigation be conducted into this matter, and that they take appropriate actions to deal with the population. Well, we don't know for sure. We certainly have had some insight from citizens, as well as a conversation with an individual who indicated that they may be responsible or partially responsible for it. We can't really talk necessarily about that person or that conversation, but all that information has been provided to the chief veterinarian's office and making sure that they're fully aware of all the stuff that we have. There was a conversation with the bylaw enforcement officer, which again we've relayed to the province.
Nichols says he's worried the bunnies may lead to other unwanted guests.
They're a prey species. They can't really defend themselves because they're domesticated animals. And so what we're going to see is likely an increase in prey populations of coyotes and fox moving into Selkirk, and we definitely don't want to see that.
So what's the province saying, Shanley?
Well, I reached out to the province, and here is a response I received from a provincial spokesperson. The province can confirm the animal care line has been contacted about this matter and has confirmed it is a population of released or escaped rabbits. Animal Health and Welfare has provided guidance on measures that could be employed, but has advised that it is an animal control issue and is the responsibility of the municipality. So I then contacted the city of Selkirk again to get the reaction to that statement. And here's the city's email response to me. The verbal guidance provided was a suggestion to change the city's bylaws, which does not provide any support or guidance on how to address the current situation. It is the city's expectation, and we believe our citizens' expectation, that the provincial agency with the resources, expertise, and authority to prevent animal neglect and abuse would offer greater support to a fellow agent of the province, such as a municipal corporation.
So what is the city of Selkirk going to do now?
Well, here is CAO Dwayne Nickel once again.
We believe that an investigation has been undertaken. However, when we followed up with the office, we were told that they couldn't provide us any information according to Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. We're sort of at this roadblock here that they're not providing any additional information to us. So we haven't seen any action being undertaken. So we're working with Popcorns and Binkies Rescue Haven to address the current population. So they're going to be, over the next few days, looking into the health and scale of the population just to get a better sense of what they would be required to do. And then after that, we'll be planning and working with them to coordinate a large-scale capture, and then spay and neutering program, making sure that they're healthy, and then looking to humanely rehome these animals.
Oh, so they could still be pets. It sounds like there could be a solution to this rabbit problem.
Well, things are not actually finalized yet. I contacted Popcorns and Binkies Rescue Haven. It's a Winnipeg-based rescue that is focused on smaller pets, particularly rabbits. The organization's director, Cindy Hildebrand, declined our interview request at that time. And here's the email response I received from Cindy Hildebrand. As you can imagine, there is a lot of planning that goes into these types of situations. We have been in talks with the city of Selkirk over the past couple of weeks. And while we definitely want to offer our assistance, no definitive decision has been made as to if we can help or what that help would look like. Now, in a social media post, Popcorns and Binkies had said, now this is back in August, we are racking our brains to find any solution to help out. As most of you know, we are a small foster-based rescue. We are rich in small animal expertise and are driven by the spirit of our volunteers, but we lack a physical shelter, and every animal in our care needs veterinary attention, so our capacity to help always comes down to two things, space and funds. Both are in very short supply. We are working on ways to bridge those gaps to allow us to step in and make a difference in Selkirk. So it's clear that there is a desire to help, but of course the situation is a bit complex.
Well, you know what they say too about rabbits, multiplying. It's just going to get to be bigger and bigger unless they do something. So, yeah.
Yeah, it could be a race against the clock as well.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, thanks for bringing us this important report, Shannalee.
Thanks, Emily.
That was CBC Manitoba community reporter Shannalee Vidal.
We carry a world of information in our pockets because we want to know. Breaking news that shapes our world. Staying on top of stories around the globe. And connected close to home. It's news you can trust. Delivered when you want and where you want. On Canada's News app. Now with CBC Radio 1. Local and live. Download the CBC News app for free.
23 minutes after 8 o'clock, you're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Emily Brass. Well, people who work for tips in the United States are getting special attention in the run-up to November's election. Both presidential candidates promised to eliminate federal taxes on money earned through tips, and it's a huge win for those who rely on gratuities to make a living. But some experts say it's bad policy. CBC's Blair Sanderson has this look at whether a similar change could happen in our country.
Anyone following the race for the White House knows there are few things Donald Trump and Kamala Harris agree on when it comes to public policy. But there's at least one promise both candidates are making.
No tax on tips. No tax on tips. No tax on tips.
It is my promise to everyone here, when I am president, we will continue our fight for working families of America and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Trump was first with the pledge back in June. Harris followed suit in August. Both made the no tax on tips promise in Nevada, a key battleground state with a disproportionately high number of hospitality workers.
A beautiful state with thousands of proud, hard-working American patriots.
Meanwhile, on this side of the border, the move is serving up discussion.
I think it's an interesting conversation because,
Here at this busy restaurant, I sat down with Jordy Morgan, who's Vice President Atlantic with Restaurants Canada.
I'm just going to drink, but what I'd like to do is order food to take out.
Yeah, no worries.
Morgan's counterpart organization in the United States, called the National Restaurant Association, supports the no tax on tips move, saying it would boost the take-home pay of 2 million workers. But Morgan says Restaurants Canada isn't pushing for similar legislation, noting that tipping is already a sticky topic in this country.
The whole conversation around tipping generally seems to be kind of elevating itself in the public consciousness, right? But I think that the reason that people are talking about this more is because they're starting to see tips begin to show up in places where they didn't expect them.
And if taxes were removed from tips, you'd see even more requests for them. That's according to Mark Mentzer, who studies the history and culture of tipping at the University of Saskatchewan.
If tips are tax-free, everybody's going to be incentivized to really try to get as much tips out of the customer as possible.
What's more, if the federal government decided to stop taxing tips, even just for workers in restaurants and bars, it would create a $3 billion shortfall in government revenue. That's the math done by Trevor Toome, an economics professor at the University of Calgary. He also says not taxing one specific type of income violates a key tenet of tax fairness known as horizontal equity.
Two individuals who have the same income should be taxed similarly regardless of how they earned that income. So a dollar is a dollar is a dollar is kind of this core principle behind a lot of how economists think about optimal tax design.
Another consequence of such an action would be the temptation for workers to move from one industry where there isn't tipping to one where there is. For instance, a long-term care worker who earns the same as a restaurant server might decide to start waiting tables because less of their income is taxed.
That is exactly right. It avoids creating this distortion for, in this case, where people would want to work.
So far, there's no indication that any of Canada's federal political parties are considering this. But Jordy Morgan with Restaurants Canada says it's not unimaginable that the idea will spread. In the meantime, he's spreading the wealth. After his food is served,
What I'm going to do, I'm going to go for the highest prompt. There you go.
that's a 25% tip on a takeout order, with at least some of that money going to the federal government through taxes for now. For CBC Radio, I'm Blair Sanderson.
Well, here's another interesting note on this topic. Several U.S. states have lower minimum wages for employees who work for tips. In Indiana, Kentucky, Kansas, and Louisiana, tipped employees can be paid as little as $2.13 an hour. In Canada, only Quebec has that kind of policy where people can who earn tips can be paid about $3 less than a minimum wage. It's 8:28, getting close to local news time, and after that it'll be The Current. On today's show, DeMar DeRozan's new memoir reveals a lot about his life and career. It explains how he used to use basketball and hard work as a way to cope with his problems. That did lead to a successful NBA career, but he now realizes how important it is to talk openly about mental health, and he's going to speak with host Matt Galloway on that on The Current right after our show at 8:37. And here to talk about the traffic is Corey Funk.
Yeah, just one reminder for folks that there's some brand new construction today. We are still firmly in construction season, and it is on Chief Peguis from Henderson to La Jamodiere. It starts today until October 7th, and it's going to actually be going both ways. Mostly going to be happening in the curbs and median lanes, some turning lanes as well. So as you can imagine, it could be probably pretty congested as it kind of goes down to just one lane at times along that section of Chief Peguis. So heads up there. But if you do see something else going on, give me a call on that CBC commuter line and I'll let folks know what you're seeing. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
Corey, usually in September, the orange is just the leaves and the pumpkins that are coming up. But
also,
this year, it's the traffic cones.
Traffic cones,
everywhere you go.
Pylons. I know. I wish they would change color, too, to something like more fun. But no, they just stay orange.
Yeah, like maybe we go with black as the second color for the fall.
That's true. Or maybe they just go away. That'd be nice, too.
Yeah. Well, I guess eventually.
Eventually. I guess it's got to have nice roads and things like that. So. Yeah.
Okay. And what's that number again?
204-788-3093. I still remember it after 5 weeks of parental leave.
Excellent. It's great to have you back. The news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it is 17 degrees. We're going to be a lot like the weekend as far as temperature goes, but we will not see as much sun. In fact, we're going to see increasing clouds and a good chance of showers or thunderstorms later today. Our high today is 26. Polls have just opened, and people in Elmwood, Transcona are voting in a federal by-election. Today's vote will determine who will succeed Daniel Blakey, who retired in March. The NDP has won the riding in every election except for a lone Conservative victory in 2011. Leela Dance is trying to hold on to Elmwood, Transcona for the NDP. Conservatives are running candidate Colin Reynolds. Ian McIntyre is running for the Liberals, who have not finished better than third in this riding since the 1990s. And people in the riding of Elmwood-Transcona can cast their ballots until 8:30 tonight.
Pre-trials.
Now, voters are also casting ballots in another key by-election in the Montreal riding of LaSalle-Émard-Verdun. And in Ottawa, MPs are returning to the House of Commons this morning for the first time since the NDP ended its agreement to prop up the minority Liberal government. A neighbor is shocked after 2 people died in a weekend fire. Police describe the fire as suspicious and are investigating the deaths as homicides. Firefighters were called to a commercial and residential mixed-use building at Main and Atlantic just before 3 Saturday morning. They pulled a 49-year-old man and a 38-year-old woman out of one of the suites. Both later died in hospital. Kimberly Houle lives across the street.
Knowing that and knowing those poor people have to now bury their family, it's so sad. So sad.
Police say 2 additional victims were treated for smoke inhalation. The police watchdog has been called in after a man died in custody of Winnipeg police. Police arrested a man on King Edward Street East just before 4 yesterday morning on an outstanding warrant. Police say he was medically cleared by the Central Processing Unit and by a paramedic and placed in a holding room at police headquarters. 3 hours later, he was found unresponsive in that holding room. He died in hospital. The Independent Investigation Unit of Manitoba has taken over that investigation. Starting this fall, Ontario and Quebec are offering free RSV shots for newborns and for those who are pregnant. But Manitoba will continue offering RSV vaccines for at-risk infants only. Dr. Philippe Lagacé-Weens is a medical microbiologist at St. Boniface Hospital. He says RSV immunizations are an excellent strategy to curb the spread of the virus, but he says the healthcare system is stressed and has limited funds.
Every healthcare system has to prioritize multiple different problems at the same time, obviously, like a shortage of healthcare providers, shortages of nursing, shortages of physicians, outbreaks of tuberculosis, outbreaks of pertussis.
This spring, Canada's Immunization Advisory Committee updated its guidance on preventing RSV. The federal body says the public health institutions should start building universal RSV immunization programs to cover all infants. A crash rattled some people in South Osborne Saturday night. At least 2 damaged vehicles could be seen near the intersection of Osborne and Brandon, including an SUV that crashed into a Christian Fellowship Chapel's accessible ramp. It also took out a bench churchgoers had donated so people waiting for the bus had a place where they could sit. Mike Young says he has never seen anything like it.
I was sitting on my couch watching TV. I heard a loud bang, kind of sounded like an explosion or a dump truck, and then I heard the commotions of the cops yelling at the individuals in the truck. It was not what you expect to see in this neighborhood.
Police have yet to release details of that crash. Well, they came out by the hundreds. About 500 runners at Assiniboine Park for this weekend's Terry Fox Run. The event, held across the country, raises millions for cancer research every year. Bob Atkins has been part of the Winnipeg race for years to honor his son, Mark, who died of pancreatic cancer in 2018. Bob's wife, Nancy, also died of cancer last year.
Everyone is really supportive of the Terry Fox idea, the things that young man did, and the fact that that's gone to research, and research is doing so much. Like, it is going to beat that disease to a pulp soon. So.
Team Nancy and Mark raised more than $15,000 in this year's race. The total raised by this year's Winnipeg Run is about $60,000. You can find more Manitoba news updated throughout the day. Just head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
That's impressive. Congrats to everyone who did the race and brought in that money for cancer research.
Yeah, a good use of your time, yeah, for sure.
No doubt. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
That's CBC's Heather Wells. She was joining us from the CBC Manitoba newsroom. And now with one last look at the forecast, here's Abby Adiemi.
Good morning once again. We're expecting cloud cover to increase as we get into the day. We do have a good chance of showers for most of the regions as we say goodbye to summer. Though some warm temperatures are still hanging back across the province, we're going to see a mix of sun and clouds. It's going to increase, and then we're going to see some thunderstorms that would come with the showers in the afternoon period, and we're seeing highs near 28 degrees today. The north will be somewhere mid-20s, and then down south will be hovering mid-20s also.
Thanks, Abby. Saying goodbye to summer, but it doesn't seem to want to leave yet. And joining us now with a look at the traffic is Corey Funk.
Well, it might be slow going on Chief Peguis from Henderson to Lajimodia for the next few weeks. There's construction starting there going both ways, blocking mostly the curb lanes and median lanes and some other lanes as well over the next couple weeks. So look out for that. It's probably going to be a little bit congested until October 7th when it's expected to end.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
That's CBC's Corey Funk back after his 5-week parental leave. Thanks to everyone who helped us put together the show, including CBC Manitoba's Shannalee Vidal, who was in with a report, Kevin Nipatebo, who's been producing the YouTube show this morning for us. I'm Emily Brass. Marcy Marcuso will be back tomorrow. The Current is up next. Have a happy Monday.